All right, we are recording. I'm calling to order this board and stakeholder meeting of the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. My name is Chris Valle. I'm vice president of the board and the acting chair of this meeting. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Oh, can we have, is that my audio? Oh, man. I'm going to just go ahead and switch to the standby, please. It's the first time that's happened. Okay, hopefully that's been resolved. Can we have someone share the meeting minutes? Oh, thank you.
There we go.
And as a reminder, if we have any students in attendance who are getting their service hours or their attendance, please raise your hand so that your name can be recorded and reported back to your teacher. Sorry, I'm just moving the screens here.
I don't see any hands, but while we're waiting, Cynthia Gagne, if that is you and attendees, please raise your hand. Okay, maybe that's another Cynthia.
There's got to be more than one. Okie doke. Well, let's move on then. Agenda item number 2, which is general public comments on non-agenda items.
First roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Mr. Secretary, would you please take roll?
Okay, John Barbera is excused. He said he may be here a while later, but not at the beginning. Vic Christensen here. John DeMiglio.
Here.
Dan Dixon.
Here.
Craig Goldfarb is excused. Cynthia Gagne. If that is not her, then she is not here. Gwen Henry.
Present.
Melanie Lebrecq.
Here.
Kelly Miller. Do not see her either. Ben Norman. Ben Norman. I see
sure.
her.
Yeah, well, he's unmuted. I don't hear the audio. It seems like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but some people are having it, so we have to be a little more patient with them. But I think Ben Norman's here.
Yeah, I know. I saw his picture.
I see him trying to talk.
He is here.
Okay.
I can tell him I come upstairs 3 flights.
Well, we can always come back for the official. Thomas Norman.
Present.
Ray Regalado is excused. David Samperio. Do not see him.
We have a minute taker.
Adam Stevenson.
Oh, he's excused. He said he would be.
Well, he said he might be on a few minutes late. I was just
Right.
looking to see if he's here yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And I don't see him there. Angela Sumner.
Here.
Chris Valle.
I'm here.
Okay, we have 9, so that is exactly what we need for a quorum.
In the attendees, do we have a minute taker over there at all?
Doesn't look like it.
Nope.
And can they work from the recording?
Yes.
Okay. Good thing we're not paying him, right? Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, on a lighter note.
We'll deal with that part.
Yes. Okay, so now we can move on in order to agenda item number 2, which is general public comments on non-agenda items. Would any of our attendees like to make a non-agenda comment? I see Lori Jacobs.
Good evening, board. Hope everybody's doing well. As a Northwest San Pedro stakeholder, I just wanted to comment to thank the board and all the committee chairs and people for the work that you're doing, and to just remind everybody that these are still tough times, and a lot of us are going through health issues, family members with health issues, and even deaths. And so just showing a little bit of extra kindness to each other, respectful discussions, those things are greatly appreciated and reflect nicely on the work that we're doing. So I just wish everybody well, and just kind of wanted to remind everybody that the word of the day is kindness. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. That is always a good word. Any other, that's Lori's hand. And our panelist, Gwen Henry, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to announce 2 different activities over at Peck Park Canyon, on this Wednesday, March 15th, starting at 9 p.m. If you go over to the trail that is just behind the community center, there is a fitness walk, and that happens every second Wednesday of the month. And the last Saturday, I won't be announcing that because I can't commit. But the other thing is that Peck Park on April 8th will be having their extravaganza, and it's going to be a really exciting time. Come and with your kids. The Literacy Club will be there with their bookmobile. There will be giveaways and a lot of other activities. So just check it out with the flyer or on social media, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Oh, that's from 12 to 2. 12 to 2 on April 8th, Saturday, April 8th.
Thanks very much. Do we have any other comments on non-agenda items from the public or from the board? Hearing none. Let's move on then to our 2023
Chris?
election. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan,
Sorry,
go ahead.
just for the recording, Gwen said that the first event she talked about was at 9 p.m. I imagine it's 9 a.m.
9 a.m. 9 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you. Corrected.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. All right, so on to agenda item number 3. Does this fall under elections and bylaws, or is this just a general? Well, I will just read it to us. Our vote by mail application period for neighborhood council elections actually ends today. It being 6:15, it's going to be a little late to get something in the mail. But if you are already registered, hopefully you are, the voting in person will be on April 1st from 12 noon to 6 p.m. at Peck Park Auditorium. The ballots apparently should be in the mail by now. Hopefully everyone who's ordered one has received it. And if you have received your mail-in ballot, then your deadline is March 20th to get that postmarked. Again, the polling location, if you're going to be going in person on April 1st, is 560 Southwestern. Of course, that's Peck Park. There are no COVID restrictions, registration, mask, vaccination, or otherwise. And the website is in our agenda packet, as well as on the website, I believe, if you would like to go to the city clerk's website to get any additional information. Does anybody have anything else to? Oh, go ahead, Vic. You have something about the election.
That March 20th date, I believe, is the deadline for the clerk to send ballots to the voters. The voters themselves can vote by mail up to and including election day, April 1st. So the postmark can be April 1st, and then it has to arrive by April 11th.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's actually critically important. All right, and any other comment or anything to add to our election process?
Well,
Gwen?
just one quick thing. While
sure.
you can't mail in the application to get a vote by mail, you
Oh,
can still do it online if you want to do it that way.
yeah, the city clerk's website, excuse me, is sort of the one-stop shop for all that information and whatever sort of remaining functions are available to voters. Go ahead, Gwen.
Would you please clarify that can ballots be dropped off at the election site in Peck? Where is it? Peck Park?
It's Peck Park Arts. I believe if you have a mail-in ballot, you can drop it off, although you could also simply vote in person at that time as well.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on then to item number 4, which would be the report from our homelessness liaison, Lori Jacobs. Take it away.
I was waiting to be unmuted.
Takes a
Good
second.
evening. Good evening again. So I'm sad to report that homelessness has not been solved yet. We are still working on it. So some changes, I try to highlight things that are new. So our mayor, Bass, has made some changes to try and cut the red tape that's slowing things down on the bidding process to build new housing. So the city council approved this at the end of February, which basically suspends competitive bidding among the homeless emergency that she declared. The council authorized the city administrative office and city departments to act immediately to procure construction contracts, service provider contracts, supplies, and equipment for homelessness facilities. And now the city administrative officer will be required to report back to the city council every 2 weeks so they can monitor this and justify actions and explain why they had to act immediately rather than following the usual process. Normally, the contractors have to submit bids and city officials review the proposals to determine which company offers the best deal, taking into account various factors such as cost, timeliness, quality, etc. The mayor's office will be able to enter into contracts much sooner, and the city attorney's office will review the documents, and the controller's office must approve payment. So the idea here is to speed things up. Other changes she made is in their permitting processes, and this isn't in the report, but they can apply for things at the same time. It used to be you had various steps where you applied for one thing, then you went on to the next. She's combined them. So again, to try and speed up that process. So we will keep an eye on that and see if hopefully that does create more housing sooner. I wanted to update you on Harbor Connects, which in the past we've had a presentation on the Harbor Neighborhood Relief Fund, which really was started during COVID to help people who were struggling, and it covers the harbor area. They've revamped and they're now called Harbor Connects, and they're going to cover all of CD15 now. Okay, and basically what they've done is they've pivoted away from pandemic oriented issues. Okay, and now they're going to try and connect people needing assistance with service providers and organizations that can provide immediate help. They've now applied for their own 501c, whereas previously they were part of use the nonprofit of Feed and Be Fed. And their vision is harbor area neighbors ending poverty through meaningful and intentional connections. And so we're going to learn more about this. Once they're a little farther along, I was going to ask them to possibly present to us. One of the things I really like is they partner with local businesses. So for instance, if they have somebody who said they can't get to their job, their tires are bad, or they need car repairs, they can't afford it, now they can't work, they're in danger of becoming homeless, they might work with a local tire company or an auto mechanic and actually work together to try and get reduced rates and get them back on their feet sooner. So this gives local businesses an opportunity to be part of the solution. I personally think it's a great model and look forward to hearing more about that. Then I wanted to give you another update on Beacon's Landing. They are moving faster than anything I've ever seen. And of course, it's prefabbed modular constructed units, and they would have been open sooner. The rain delayed them a little bit, but there's going to be 88 total units, 45 units specifically for only chronically homeless single adults, And then additional 43 are being funded by Department of Mental Health, the county department. And those will be specifically for people connected to mental health specific diagnosis. So they were going to open in July. Now they're looking closer to October. And Sherry Weaver reported they're already building a waiting list, getting people ready. So as soon as it opens, they'll be ready to rock and roll. It'll be managed by LA Family Housing. So this is great. The Inside Safe, I've reported on that before. I'm not sure if Jocelyn Dominguez is going to be here to provide an update or somebody from CD15, but they're just out there like gangbusters. And really they're assessing homelessness across LA and really focusing on encampments. Okay, specifically the larger encampments with the most chronic group of homeless people. In each city council members are identifying priority encampments. CD15, I'm sorry, the 1-5 council member McCosker is already designating the Lomita McCoy encampment, which has been around for a long time. And so far they have found when they're working this program that people who before were saying no to services are saying yes to housing and support. One success story that I highlighted here was at 116th and Figueroa. They had a huge collaboration between Caltrans, service providers, Dave Matthews of the Harbor Gateway Chamber of Commerce, Supervisor Holly Mitchell's office, and more, working together. And they housed 54 people in just a 12-hour period. That is just miraculous. That's unheard of. So we want to hear more success stories like that. So I like to report that good news stuff that's going on. Encampments, I just have updates on the total there. And then just a little bit of information about PATH, which is one of our local service providers in Service Planning Area 8. PATH stands for People Assisting the Homeless. They've been around a long time. Their challenges, the weather has been a huge challenge for them, the rain, extreme cold weather. They're having less and less of the lockdown quarantines, but sometimes they still do. Lack of interim housing. Street to Subsidy was a program that ran out and that's not available anymore. And again, low affordable housing. And sadly, still the largest, fastest growing demographic of people experiencing homelessness is seniors. And on fixed incomes, they are really struggling where they're at. So I'll continue to report on that. Obviously, I'm not covering everything on homelessness, but I just kind of wanted to highlight a few of the success stories and programs that hopefully we'll see making some headway, that we're moving the needle. So I'm open to any questions, or somebody can reach out to me offline. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Lori. It's another great report. I just was curious when you mentioned the mayor's cutting of the red tape and streamlining the bidding processes. Was this for sort of any and all services related to construction, or how wide a group of services and vendors would be sort of deregulated?
To my knowledge, the main focus is construction. And she's working very closely with a lot of contractors. It did mention service providers, and I'm not sure why it did, because they don't do construction, but they might be partnering with various organizations like the Abode, I forgot the Abode something or other that's doing the Beacons Landing. They're partnering with a service provider. So that might be referring to the partnership between providers and contractors. But I'll see if I can get updates on that.
Thank you very much. Take a little pause just to identify that Kelly Miller and Adam Stevenson have entered the chat, as it were. Are there any other questions or comments for Lori on the homelessness issues in general or specifically? I do see Amanda. We are, in fact, I think it's probably
Amanda from CD15 might definitely have some updates.
Yes, and we're actually going to transition into our government and elected representative section as well. So we'll just mush those together now. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, I just wanted to, I know Lori kind of mentioned, I just wanted to update Inside Safe. We have not, we are in works with the mayor's office to get the inside safe, but we don't yet have a date for when it will be down here in CD 15. But as Lori did say, it will be, the first place will be Lomita McCoy. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Do you have any other information from the council, the district office?
So we do have our town hall, which will be on March 23rd. It will be at Peck Park. And yeah, I think besides that, we've been having town halls in each part of the district. San Pedro is the last one. We're going to be doing them quarterly. We are also working on opening up Anderson Park. I know that's not in your area, but that is something that we're working on the playground. Peck Park specifically, I am working to get the lines in the parking lot repaved or repainted. And I think that's all that I have for now, unless you guys have anything in particular.
What time is the town hall on the 23rd?
It'll be at 5 p.m. in the auditorium.
We'll see you there. Thanks very much.
Awesome.
Any questions for Amanda? Okay, doke. We also have, do we have Emma Watson?
Yes.
Oh, I moved you over to panelist already. Did you have a full presentation? Or is it just a?
Yeah, if that's okay. I think Ray had said it would be great to do like 5-10 minutes to share about our office.
Sure, go ahead. And we also, just to note that we also do have Octavio Rios from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment as well for our government representatives. But yeah, go ahead, Amanda, take it away.
Okay, great. And I think we have some slides. Oh, do you want me to share my slides, my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. It's probably quicker if you do it.
Okay, great. Oh. I think Melanie has it. So perfect. Thank you so much, Melanie. Well, thank you all so much for having me to share a little bit more about our office. My name's Emma Watson, and I'm the Policy Director for Board District 7 and Board Member Ortiz Franklin, who we have here. In this picture, this is our board member, and she was a former student, teacher, educator, and advocate for Board District 7. So comes directly from our community in BD7. And we get the honor of serving the beautiful and diverse communities of Carson, South Los Angeles, Watts, Gardena, Lomita, Harbor City, Wilmington, and San Pedro. So great to work alongside you all. And you can see a map here of our district. So very large, expansive district. We can go to the next slide. A little bit about LA Unified School Board. There are 7 regionally elected members. So we elected directly from the community. And the board gets to appoint the superintendent, and recently appointed Superintendent Alberto Calvallo, who celebrated his 1 year recently. There are 560,000 students, around 1,400 schools, and in Board District 7, we serve 183 schools. And here is a new updated map. It's a little bit small, but I think you have access to the slides of the new region. So the superintendent has recently reorganized the regions. And so San Pedro does fall into Region South, and the interim superintendent of Region South is Andre Spicer. Move to the next slide. Great. And so the role of the school board member, LA Unified is the 2nd largest school district. So we do have a tremendous budget of approved. So she gets to be one of the votes to approve the $20 billion annual school budget. This budget is a little bit larger than it has been historically. And part of that is due to one-time funding that did come to support COVID relief, and also some just additional funding that's coming from the state due to additional funding in the state, which is great. The second big role is to supervise the superintendent and to set and monitor board goals. And in fulfilling her responsibilities, super important that the board member hears directly from folks like yourself. So that's why we're here in this space, to regularly join you all, hear from you all, make sure that you know that we are available so that her budget vote is informed directly from those individuals that she is serving and advocating alongside. The board did recently adopt 4 board goals almost a year and a half ago. One focused around improving A through G completion rates, so making sure that our students as they graduate are eligible for college. And then also a goal around improving literacy and math, as well as a goal around social emotional learning. And our vision in Board District 7, so you can see on the slide, in Board District 7 and across the whole, can go back one slide, sorry. Thank you. So our vision in Board District 7 and across the whole district is that all students are prepared to thrive in the college, career, and life of their choice. And so in order to do that, we see racial and educational justice as critical pieces to ground us in our policy making. In our district, we're privileged to serve 90% students of color and over 80% students who qualify for free or reduced lunch. And so when we think about our priorities, are really focused on ensuring that classrooms have resources like fair funding and staffing. Staffing has been a huge priority for the board member. We do regularly visit schools and hear directly from schools what they're facing and making sure that we do have a high quality teacher in all classrooms. Secondly, sorry, still on that slide. We are also focused on social, emotional, and wellness and support, and also making sure that there is accelerated learning. We, as Lori shared, we are still recovering, and so knowing that there needs to be additional opportunities for our students to accelerate their learning, starting with high quality first instruction, but then providing additional opportunities like tutoring and accelerated learning. And the district is offering free online tutoring for all students, available at tutor.com for students 6th through 12th grade. And this is a live tutoring option, as well as students can upload writing and homework to receive feedback. And for elementary students, they can receive free tutoring through paper.co, which also offers a live tutor option and the ability to upload written compositions for feedback. And it's all free of charge, and students can receive these services directly through their Schoology account. Okay, and then next slide, in terms of strategies. So we at Board District 7 are focused on Black student achievement, joy, mental health and wellness, and family and community engagement. And so we want to make sure that we focus on centering the communities that have been historically underserved and under-resourced. And we believe that Black student achievement is something that we should that we are prioritizing, because we know that when we do better by our Black students, we do better by all kids. And so one of the things that we have done to prioritize Black student achievement is the board member authored the Black Educator Resolution to support hiring, retention, and recruiting our Black educators. That was passed last February. And of course, joy, mental health, wellness, we know is so important historically, but also as we recover from the pandemic. And so we are pushing for additional investments in social emotional wellness for all of our students and our families. And one thing that we are doing around that when we think about holistic wellness is access to the arts. And so last summer, alongside youth, we advocated for a resolution that would look at making sure that students have access to equitable arts all across their education. You can go on to the next slide. All right, and before we play this video, I do want to share about College Signing Day. So you may have heard about this before, but this is the board members' annual event that we do that celebrates all of our graduating high school seniors and what they're choosing to pursue post graduation. But it's also an opportunity for all members of the board district 7 community, from pre-K all the way through 11th grade. There's opportunities for them to envision what it would look like to pursue a path in higher education. So at our College Signing Day, we had a really fun resource fair with college counselors. And I think what I will share with you a special story was that there was a student that was graduating last year that didn't know if what her post-graduation choice was. And right there and then she did sign up for junior college at that college signing day because she met with the college counselor. So it was a really exciting opportunity for all of our family and students to celebrate our graduating seniors and also to think about what it might be like to pursue college. And we are having it this Saturday or this upcoming April 29th at Cal State Dominguez Hill. So we'll play a video so you can get a little bit of a sense of what that event is like. And you might find a picture or an image of me pregnant during last year's college sign day. Now I have a 7-month-old baby. If you click, it might take you to the video or
It seems like Zoom thinks the video is playing, but obviously we're not seeing that. Is it playing on your end?
no.
I think there might be specific commands or options in your drop down to share specifically for video that may not be the same as the settings for regular screen.
Do you want me to try to do it now?
Why don't we
Could you
hit?
see it?
Well, no, we still see the same the signing day slide, but not
Oh,
the video.
yeah, okay, because I was playing the video and I'm
Okay,
not sure.
let's
What
have Emma try it and do it from her end then.
If you
Okay.
didn't specifically choose the video when you may not show.
Okay,
So yeah,
what now?
I would stop sharing your screen, Melanie, and let Emma share hers.
Okay.
We are at Cal State Dominguez Hill celebrating college signing day.
No,
We've
it's
got
We
going.
can hear it.
Yeah,
Okay, let's try.
Okay, Emma, you should be able to share now.
Oh, hold on. Let me. I just share my music. Hold on. Can you see that?
We are at Cal State Dominguez Hill
Here we go.
celebrating college signing day. We've got hundreds of seniors all across Board District 7 telling us where they're going to college next year, and dozens of families and little kids here to grow their college knowledge and celebrate college-going culture. More college degrees are going to make LA and LA Unified a much stronger community.
I wanted you to know that you may come from circumstance, but you are not your circumstance. We need your generation. We need your intellectual horsepower. We need your love, your creativity to come on and be able to tackle some of the challenges that we are working with in the world today. I know that many of you are the first in your families to go to college. I take pride in your journey. I take pride in your accomplishments. There is nothing that will stop you. It is your leadership. It is your courage reinventing our full potential. So congratulations to each and every one of you.
We are at Cal State.
All right, and then our last slide is we do want, if you have anything, we'd love to hear from you and connect with you. As I shared, family and community engagement is one of our priorities. So we meet regularly with our partners, our community members, to hear from them on what's going on, so we can be responsive. And all of our policy is rooted in the experience of the communities and the students and families that are closest to policy. So here is our contact information. We have a lot of resources on our website, along with our BD7 email, our phone number, so you can feel free to call that. You can also follow us on social media. We like to post resources, updates from board meetings, updates from school visits, and then our newsletter. We like to highlight a lot of the great things that are happening in our schools. So you can see our team here in this picture. So we are the 7 ladies of Board District 7, and it is an honor to serve you all. And thank you so much for having me here tonight. And I would love to take any questions that you all might have.
I see Thomas Norman. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yes, thank you for that presentation. It was an amazing event. I was there, and could you remind the group again what day it will be, what time it will be this coming year?
Yes, and I believe you were on our Family Advisory Council before, so good to see you again. It's going to be April 29th, and you can find all information around College Signing Day on our website. You can register already. We're also looking for sponsors or support or volunteers. It's a huge event. We had over 1,000 families and students last year, so we are, looking for your partnership as well. And it's going to be at Dominguez Hills in Carson.
Yeah, thank you. And it starts about, was it 9 o'clock? So people know when to get there.
Let me just pull it up right now. It starts at 10 o'clock.
Oh, 10,
10
sorry.
to 2. Yeah. You probably were there early setting up with them.
Thanks very much. Victor, go ahead.
Hi, Emma. I won't go into a lot of history because of time, but I think many people here know that LAUSD has had, I would say, a chronic communication problem when it comes to the community. One particular issue is the Science Center in San Pedro, Vic and Bonnie Christensen Math Science Technology Center, which is the site of the San Pedro Community of Schools headquarters. 3 of us on the board are on the advisory council with other people in with people in LAUSD and others to help drive where things are going to happen at the Science Center and how they're going to happen, and to let the community know what's happening. But in order to do that, LAUSD has to tell us what is going on too. And since COVID started, they have stopped having the advisory council meetings. And every time I ask, to have another one, they use COVID as an excuse, even though we can do it Zoom. So if this is the beginning, and I believe you said you might be attending, or somebody might be attending these board meetings on a regular basis, if this is the beginning of a better communication pattern, that's a good thing. But I would also appreciate some support and, ally, so to speak, from the board member to get these advisory council meetings started up again. Because like I said, every time I've asked, well, we're too focused on COVID and doing things like that, and we can't have them. But we're having meetings virtually like now, so there's nothing preventing having the advisory council meetings virtually as well. So if we could get that started again with some help from the board member, I would really appreciate it, and I think the others would too.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that to our attention. I'll be sure to share that with board member Chief Franklin and look into it. And who would be the contact from the district that I might learn more about with them, like engage them on this?
Well, it used to be Mike Romero, but as you know, he's no longer in that position, and I don't know how much Andre Spicer knows about it. So I suppose the next best person would be Lou Martisich, who is the, well, you know who he is, but
he's the community of schools
superintendent of the community of schools.
Okay, great. I can definitely reach out to Lou.
Thanks. And do we have any more questions for Emma? Because I had a couple myself. All right. I have a couple that just issues that I'm the chair of the Youth and Outreach Committee. So there's a couple of issues I've been following and things that came to my attention as you were speaking. Real quickly, the reorganization of the local districts, or the regions as they are now, are there fewer regions than there were local districts? And in terms of the organization of those, obviously it's geographic to some extent, but are they all similar in size in terms of the number of students they cover?
Yeah, so there are less regions now. I think part of the thinking behind that is to reorganize in a way for cost savings. So to have less administrative staff still supporting schools, but so there are less. And so that because of that, Region South did take on additional schools that were previously in the West. And so some of you might be familiar with the heat schools. Now Region South is one of the serves predominantly Black students because of the heat schools that came in. So that, yeah. So, and I do think the region is number of schools is similar. So there's no longer like a local district central that we had previously.
Understood. Thank you. As you mentioned, the Black Student Achievement Plan and what has been a years-long experience of sort of navigating that. It seems that the emphasis has been on retention, graduation rates, and things like that. What sort of agenda, what sort of priorities and goals have been set for high achieving Black students? My experience has been that it's can be sometimes difficult in terms of equity and access to instruction. That the broad approach to retention and graduation rates has got more specific goals and a kind of an easier metric to follow than the obviously much smaller number of students at the other end of the scale statistically who are still in need of and deserving the district support. So how does the board member sort of intend to address those things, and are there any sort of active efforts to focus on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we are really focused on for her, it's a big part of is the ability for students to be able to choose college and the career of their choice, right? So thinking about post-secondary attainment. The Black Student Achievement Plan does have very specific academic indicators and looking at how can we move Black students to reach those goals over time. It is definitely focused on academics, as well as I think a lot of supports are around school climate and things like that, increasing access to PSWs, counselors, but also making sure that the curriculum is culturally responsive, so supporting schools to provide to analyze their curriculum and also to provide access to opportunities off campus. So there are the 4 goals that I mentioned, is also rooted in the Black Student Achievement Plan. So one is focused on preparing students A through G C or better, one around our SBAC for literacy, and then one around SBAC for math, and then the last one around social emotional wellness. So they are looking at graduation rates, ELA proficiency, math proficiency, DIBELS, which is like an elementary, I believe, literacy, A through G completion, and then attendance as well. Those are some of the big data that they're analyzing here. I can send you some more of those pieces, but I think it is, as you mentioned, it's in the beginning of the Black Student Achievement Plan. And so I think we're right now trying to figure out our baseline, but how do we continue to really push ourselves to do better? And as you mentioned, right, even though we have a smaller population of Black students, they are Black students. We are Black students we have traditionally not supported. I know in terms of the recent data, we are only supporting 46% of our Black students to be eligible to choose college, which is 5 percentage points lower than the district average. So it's definitely a priority for our office. We every year have had a goal around supporting Black students specifically for our office.
Thanks. And just real briefly, just because it's an upcoming and probably very serious issue, does the board member have any distinct positions separate from the district's messaging about the possible strike from SEIU?
Yes, and I had a feeling that you all might be interested in learning about that given the recent updates. And board member Ortiz Franklin believes that we do have a meaningful offer, and that is exactly, we know our SEI members deserve a great offer. And so we hope that they'll come back to the table so that we can avoid any sort of strike because we know that has huge impacts. So that's what we have so far.
Thanks very much. And we do have a couple of other questions. I saw Gwen, and then we'll have Kelly. Go ahead, Gwen.
Hi, Emma. I actually have two different things. One of them being Wi-Fi, access to Wi-Fi on the school grounds. I've heard that it's not necessarily available to students, and I was wondering if there is any work or funding in being able to provide Wi-Fi. And then there's another thing I wanted to bring your attention to. We do have students that would benefit greatly from after-school programs and tutoring, and Peck Park has the room and the access for tutoring, and they actually have an after-school computer program that they are prepared for, but they also do not have Wi-Fi. But they are very much working in the after-school care of a lot of different age groups and have classrooms for that. Is there anything for help working with some of our public institutions in creating that tutoring environment? I know that Peck Park is actually walking distance for one particular group, a community that lives behind Ralph's. There is housing back there, and it is a perfect opportunity. So Wi-Fi access, if you could inform as to whether that's a problem, and if there needs to be updates to that to be competitive with charter schools and private schools, and then Peck Park as an opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Digital divide was one of the first things that the board member moved on when she came into office. We were still at home during the pandemic, and we know in our district that access to reliable internet, affordable internet for our communities, a lot of our areas, is a huge priority. And so we pushed a lot for access at home for our students, so that they're able to, have equitable access to homework and all sorts of things on their home. And so I do know that families, if they need support with Wi-Fi or access to internet at their home, there are resources that they're able to get, both broadband and also like through your computer. So depending on what type of option that the family is preferring. So those are something that you can do. I am not as I don't have the information necessarily on the Wi-Fi at school. So that's something that I appreciate you sharing, and I will definitely connect with our IT department to look into that. And then the piece around tutoring and after school tutoring and partnering with Peck Park, that sounds like a great opportunity. I know that it's something that a lot of our families are, we hear a lot that they're looking for access to tutoring, and something that the board and the superintendent have been pursuing are local education compacts with cities. And so how can we partner with local cities to provide access to resources? And this is a very example of what that could look like. So that's something that I can share with our Office of Government Relations to see how we can pursue something like this and see if this is something we have capacity for. So I appreciate you raising this for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks very much. And we'll make Kelly Miller our last question. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi. I wanted to first say, Gwen, you asked about computer access at school. We do have computer accesses at school. The kids have Wi-Fi and stuff at school. And the district, I have to say, as our UTLA rep for our district and our school rep on the board, we do have that. We are working on getting access. They've been given, students at home for access have been given hotspots and access to AT&T. AT&T has come and installed some of the broadband stuff. I wanted to go back to, there's a couple things that you talked about that kind of had me upset because we're still in bargaining. And one of them is the Black Student Achievement Award system that we're trying to implement that UTLA has been fighting for. And the district has not met with us or offered any solutions to what we've asked for in negotiations. So I'm really upset to hear that that seems like it's going forth. And while we're still in stagnant water on that, and it's really kind of upsetting because it's something we've been fighting for a while. They've been giving some awards for different things, but that's still in contract. And about the SEIU, they announced that we are striking. UTLA will support them. And Carvalho just sent us an email saying that he will close the schools. So he is not acting like he in good faith and wanting to continue negotiating. And being that I've been on with this for a long time, it kind of really upsets me that people only hear half of what's going on and not the whole thing. And that really upsets me because we have been in bargaining. SEIU has been in bargaining for 2 years. And in December, they said, they're at an impasse. They've asked for mediation. They filed unfair practices, and now they can strike because of that. And they had to, there's a lot going on right now. And so I know Tanya is really trying to work with the teachers and with the district and everything, but there's a lot more going on than, this that needs to be addressed. And as long as we're in contract negotiations, it's going to be really hard. There was one other thing, and I can't remember what it was right now, but anyway, I know it's hard for you to get up there and, and to have to give a lot of information, and I get that. But being as I am a UTLA rep, I have to speak on behalf of UTLA and what the teachers are going through. And this whole redistricting thing has not been put forth with the teachers yet.
Yeah, some of that might be better to follow up with offline.
Right.
Yeah, but I appreciate you sharing that and sharing what I have and my privy to,
All right. I see. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try and close out our government and elected officials representative. Octaviano, I saw your hand raised. Would you like to? Whoops. There's Octaviano. Octaviano, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I think I have too many windows open on my end. Covering the mute button. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Octaviano Rios with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Is it okay to start my report?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Again, Octaviano Rios with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Good evening, everybody. First off, I'm going to try to breeze through this report, but I have quite a few updates that I wanted to bring you up to date on. Even though you do get your NC profiles as a reminder that provide some very relevant information, not just to the administration of your and management of your board, but also legislatively, as well as resources and tools that can assist you along the way to be a more effective and efficient board. Not that you aren't, because you definitely are. So thank you for that. And thank you for your engagement with the elections and for promoting them along the way. Special thank you to John and Lori, of course, who have been reaching out to the department on the elections and some of the concerns that have arisen. So hopefully we've, as a collaboration, along with the elections division and the city clerk's office, have put out those fires before they got bigger. So any concerns related to elections, feel free to reach out to the department, myself, but don't forget to also include your representative, your election administrator in the city clerk's office. And by the way, with regards to elections, if you still have questions, any concerns, feel free to stop into our webpage, empowerla.org/elections. That's a one-stop shop to get to not just outreach information, but also links directly to the city clerk's webpages on elections, and they're the ones who administer your elections, as you may know. But don't hesitate to also reach out to me as a first stop in case you don't know how to navigate some of these online resources regarding elections. Virtual meeting extension, as we're in the middle of it. As you are aware, the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, which Commissioner Regalado serves on, they voted late last month to extend for another month the ability for our neighborhood councils to meet virtually. So thank you to them. But they also made sure to highlight the opportunity for those that are ready to meet in person to be able to have them know that they were also able to meet in person. So I'm not sure which of our 99 neighborhood councils are meeting in person or took advantage of that for any Brown acted meetings, but I know that that was an option this month and still continues to be. Many of our neighborhood councils are not ready or prepared to meet in person. So they're definitely taking advantage of this extension to continue meeting virtually. So the extension will end at the end of this month, and we will be transitioning to in-person meetings starting April. So with that, know that you can lean on us, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, to help with that transition. A big lift will be coming from the city clerk's neighborhood council funding program and their staff. They have the bulk of the required documents that are needed to be submitted. And we're also working with them, of course, with the Department on Disability and the city attorney's office for anything that may be needed, required, and helpful for our neighborhood councils to transition into in-person meetings. So I know that this neighborhood council is well on your way. You've picked out your location. You've had your ADA assessment done already. And I believe some of that paperwork is still being processed by the city clerk's office. So we're asking our counterparts in the city clerk's office to help us identify anything else that's needed to help our neighborhood councils get those facilities going. So with that, I leave you to, if there's any questions, if there's anything that comes up, any red flags, any uncertainties, any needs for clarification, please don't hesitate to reach out as soon as possible. We're definitely at a crunch and want to make sure that we get those issues addressed as they come up. So we're all in it together as a partnership in terms of meeting in person. Now, Zoom accounts. The department, as you know, has been covering the $200 a year for each of our neighborhood councils to have an exclusive license to use Zoom for your board meetings and your virtual events. That's coming to an end. So our department's asking all of our neighborhood councils to agendize starting April, June, going backwards here, their license, which will expire this coming May in 2023. So the department will only cover until that month. Moving forward, and it's an annual license. Neighborhood councils are expected to cover that expense. You do have the option of adding additional licenses for that amount, so $200 per license, and you also have the ability to register board members, a board member for each of those different licenses. The department will still invoice each of the neighborhood councils, so you won't be working with the city clerk's office per se. You'll be working directly with us on this particular matter of license Zoom accounts. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. That information is also in your NC profiles in case you want to visit that. Last Friday, the department sent out an email just repeating some of the documents that may be required by not just the facility, but also by the city clerk's office for your in-person meetings. So check that out. It's a long email and not all that information applies to every different facility, but keep in mind also that Peck Park may not be the only location you'd be meeting for your Brown acted meetings. You may want to consider other locations for your committees, smaller venues that may accommodate maybe more accessible for your committee meetings and your smaller groups and attendees. With the exception of your plum committees, of course, those are always popular citywide. So you may want to venture back to Peck Park for your larger attended committee meetings. So check that out. If you didn't get that email, I can certainly resend it. Just send me an email, and we'll also make sure that you're getting our correspondence on a regular basis. And last but not least, I know this is information that's kind of old information, the neighborhood council candidate information sessions. I'm still kind of pushing it and promoting it because there's still some pretty valuable information. If you attend these sessions, they cover not just how to apply to be a candidate, the application process, but the second half covers how to do a good campaign. And it also covers marketing tools, which is good just year round to get a good grasp as to what tools you could be using as a neighborhood council for your particular campaigns, even post elections. And I believe that covers my report, Mr. Chair. That concludes my report. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Octaviano. I see a question or comment from Victor.
Hey, Octaviano, do you have any updates on things like SB 411 or other legislation to allow meetings to go virtual beyond March 29th?
No, thanks for the question. Unfortunately, we don't. Just a quick recap. The city of Los Angeles, as well as on their own, our state representatives introduced and are advocating for legislation to help neighborhood councils and other legislative bodies, which you are, to meet virtually as an option, and to try to amend the Brown Act, which is a state law. So the city is advocating through its state legislative program to help promote that option. But we haven't received, Victor, any updates, any news, whether that amendment, that legislation that would allow neighborhood councils to meet virtually indefinitely, if that legislation is moving quickly or not, or if it's stalled. So as soon as we get any word from our city officials, we'll let you know as well. Thank you for the question, Victor.
Thanks. Gwen, go ahead.
Hi, Octaviano. Will Empower LA, or maybe you know the city clerk, will either be collecting data over the months to find out which neighborhood councils have Wi-Fi access during meetings, and their communication and any success stories and actual involvement of the community? Is there any way to capture data on that versus those that do not have Wi-Fi and go to only in-person meetings? I think that would be important data to capture, to see the comparison between those communities that have venues that also provide Wi-Fi and those that do not.
So just to clarify, Gwen, and feel free to obviously correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding of it. You're saying that you may think it would be good information for the department to maybe survey our 99 neighborhood councils and their proposed or confirmed meeting facilities and see which ones have Wi-Fi access, or what kind of scenario they're in terms of getting Wi-Fi access.
Yes, I think it would be good information to capture at the beginning, as well as maybe over a period of time, find out what engagement success there is. Whether, I mean, I could go with the theory that those that have live meetings that are also Wi-Fi will have better engagement with the community than those that are strictly on live meetings without Wi-Fi. But I'm wondering if that kind of data could be thought of as captured in order to assist on future involvement and future plans.
Thank
and
you, thank
possible
you. Gwen.
funding.
Yeah, I'll pass that along. I don't have an answer as to whether we're gonna be doing that or not. As you know, a handful of neighborhood councils have signed up for the hybrid model to participate in a hybrid model. So the rest are going to be meeting in person, but I'll keep that in mind. Which reminds me, Mr. Chair, if I can go back to the Zoom account matter. One consideration for our neighborhood councils before discarding the idea of whether to approve $200 or not for Zoom accounts for those that are meeting in person is that some neighborhood councils may want to consider. Now that there's no position on our end, we're just wanting to remind folks that you may want to consider the option of maybe for non-Brown acted meetings, use your Zoom account for virtual events that don't require Brown Act compliance. So that's something that other neighborhood councils are considering and approving their $200 for that, so they can have that flexibility of conducting some business virtually.
Yeah, it does seem like that for that amount of money, it's a great set of tools that you really couldn't replace any other way. Go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah, I think Gwen's confused a little bit. We will not need Wi-Fi out the gate. Right now, we're only approved for in-person, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. So there will be no Wi-Fi to see if anybody has it or not, because starting April 1st, we're in person and no Wi-Fi, nothing. The protocol, the hybrid stuff has not been approved yet, and we're still waiting for hybrid to be approved. Once it's approved, then we are part of the protocol program. But until that's approved, we're straight in-house meetings, no hybrid, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. We're in person as we were prior COVID.
Thank you, Melanie, for that clarification.
All right, and in the interest of time, I think we're going to go ahead and move on to close out our elected government and public safety representatives with Amanda Enriquez from 1-5 again, please. Amanda, go ahead.
Hello. I apologize. I forgot to mention on Saturday, we are having our Gaelic and Garlic event downtown San Pedro on 6th Street, right in front of our building. So come down, have some fun, listen to some music. I think there'll also be a beer garden. There'll be lots of food. So I did want to mention that.
So you buried the lead. Yeah, we definitely need to know about that one.
Yes, fun stuff.
That's right, a little bit of fun at least. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to move on to presentations. We have Andrea O'Loughlin from the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy. And Andrea is in attendees.
Chris, Jocelyn has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
Hello, hi everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jocelyn Dominguez. I am the Harbor and Watts area representative for the office of Mayor Karen Bass. And I know Lori already shared some of the updates with Inside Safe, but I just wanted to give a quick recap of where we are so far. So we have been able to service 11 sites and have been able to move over 500 individuals indoors. So very happy to share that news with you all. And one other thing, and this information is actually on the Mayor's Area Monthly Report. So I saw that it is posted on your website. So a lot of great information there. And what I share here is just kind of taking from that report. But one thing that I did want to highlight for you all is the new LA City tenant protections. So the city has adjusted its regular tenant protections to include one, that landlords must provide LA City tenants with a legal reason in order to evict them. And two, eviction protections for unauthorized pets and additional tenants due to COVID-19 continued through January 31st, 2024. So anyone who has a tenant, unauthorized tenant that moved in during the COVID pandemic, or they got an unauthorized pet during the COVID pandemic, your landlord still cannot evict you. up until that extended date, which is January 31st of next year. And I did link the LAHD bulletin in that report, and it is available in English and Spanish. So please take a look at that. It's a really great resource to just kind of provides a little bit more detailed information on the new tenant protections, provides like a table on how you qualify, how much you qualify for when it comes to the rental relocation, which is another protection. So effective March 27th, landlords are prohibited from evicting tenants who fall behind on rent unless the tenant owes an amount higher than the fair market rent. And you can actually see that value in a table on the LEHD bulletin. And also effective on March 27, tenants who receive a rent increase of more than 10% within 12 months and are unable to afford the rent increase have the option to receive relocation assistance to move out of their rental unit. So again, that is on the LAHD bulletin, and it goes into more detail on how you can qualify for that rental relocation. And I also want to just highlight, I do have some housing and rental protection resources, legal resources for like Stay Housed LA on that report. And also, if you go to the bottom of the report under event updates, you'll see find all other community or resource flyers. If you go to that link, I have quite a few resources, flyers for upcoming events. And there is one on there for legal eviction, tenant rights, and important information for legal assistance for folks who might be able to benefit from those resources. And thank you to Lori, because she's the one who provided me the flyer. So thank you, Lori. And I did drop that in the Drive link to the report. And that's all for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jocelyn. By the way, I apologize for skipping over you. I'm still in the process of memorizing the names of all the new representatives from our new elected officials, so did not mean to nudge you aside. Are there any questions? See none. All right, well, we are going to move on then to presentations. And now to Andrea O'Loughlin, who's been promoted to panelist. Andrea, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? See me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to be taking a few minutes to describe the work that I do with the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, otherwise known as LANE. And the reason why I'm here presenting with you all today is because your neighborhood council actually had endorsed a policy that we had been working on since, I believe it was 2018 that we had started. Your neighborhood council had endorsed it in 2019. So I just wanted to follow up with some awesome news about the unanimous passage of it and where we're going from there. So our campaign focuses on grocery and retail, which is the second largest work sector in LA. That's where over half of the workers are women, 77% are workers of color, and 1 in 3 workers are head of their households. And the UCLA Labor Center reported that 8 in 10 workers lack a set schedule each week and get very little notice of their schedules. So when people don't have stable and reliable scheduling, they often struggle with transportation, caregiving, attending class, stress of job maintenance, etc. So this is why at our job at Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, or LANE, we created the Fair Work Week Coalition. And the Fair Week Coalition is a band of workers' rights advocates, health and safety advocates, retail workers, economic justice organizations, democratic clubs, faith-based groups, and social justice groups all across the city. And in 2022, the Fair Work Week policy was unanimously passed throughout the city of Los Angeles. Therefore, starting April 1st of this year, 70,000 grocery and retail workers are going to be impacted by our policy. And of course, you might be wondering what this policy entails. So I firstly want to note that this policy only applies to companies that employ 300 or more workers globally. So I want you to think of corporations like DD's Discounts, Target, Food for Less, TJ Maxx, these larger corporations, not small businesses. So this policy guarantees grocery and retail workers at least 2 weeks advance notice of their schedules, as well as mandatory rest periods of 10 hours between shifts. So gone are the days of closing at midnight and having to come back in at 5 a.m. for an inventory check. Additionally, this policy provides the right to accept or decline extra hours added on short notice without fear of retaliation, which surprisingly was a big issue for a lot of our workers. So that being said, we all know that passing policy is not the end of the battle. In fact, it's often the beginning. So in this upcoming year, we're going to be working on upholding the city office that has, or excuse me, the city has developed an office that will hire staff to specifically enforce and penalize companies that have violations filed against them. So in this upcoming year, we're including the work of not only empowering community members and workers with this education, but we also want to make sure that this city office is accountable in maintaining a system that serves the workers that we're here to serve. Additionally, in December of this past year, Supervisor Holly Mitchell decided to take this policy and introduce it to the Board of Supervisors. So now it's currently a motion that will be voted on. We're anticipating maybe May or June of this year. So if it does pass through the Board of Supervisors, this policy will then be expanded to the unincorporated parts of Los Angeles County. So it'll be impacting an additional 5,500 households as well. And the intention, of course, is to continue to take this policy and to be able to replicate it, not to have it watered down, but instead to learn about what cracks might become apparent throughout this next year of its implementation, and to modify that only for it to then be better for the next city moving forward. We're also not the first city to be doing Fair Work Week. I believe we're the 7th or 8th in the country. So just taking a page out of a book that's long overdue. That being said, I did want to touch on one other piece that our campaign is working on that does involve grocery and grocery workers, but it does also include San Pedro. So I don't know if folks in this space have heard that there is a potential Kroger and Albertsons merger. It's about a $24.6 billion merger. And the reason why we're paying attention to this merger is because Kroger, otherwise known as Ralph's or Food for Less in Southern California, and Albertsons, known as, we have Vons, Safeway, Pavilion. Each of them own about 19 different brands. So that makes 38 different brands total that they own throughout the country. And if these two supermarkets become one mega supermarket, they would effectively become a monopoly in the grocery market industry. And the reason why we're quite concerned with this is because based on studies from the Federal Trade Commission, when stores are bought up by one company, there tends to be store closures in that area. And an example that I can provide was actually given by Alex Padilla in it was a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing about this merger. I was listening to it, and San Pedro actually came up. He cited that San Pedro has about 5 main grocery stores. However, 4 of those 5 are owned by either Kroger or Albertsons. So if this merger were to go through, 4 of those 5 grocery stores would be owned by one company. And based on studies done at previous grocery markets mergers, there will be anticipated closures, which means less access to food, less access to healthy food for families, right? As well as lost jobs in our communities as well. So we are wanting to drum up attention regarding this merger because we're concerned about families having access to healthy food, having access to building healthy communities, and also having access to good paying jobs. And the steps that we are taking currently have been to write to the Federal Trade Commission since they are the ones that decide whether or not this merger gets approved or rejected. Additionally, we are collaborating with some grocery store unions in the area, which have then been collaborating with grocery store unions along the West Coast, since we will be the most impacted. And they're drumming up attention in the media, making sure that it doesn't get washed away in the storm of news that we see every day. It does look like it's going to be about a year-long battle. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I thought it was interesting that Alex Badia had mentioned you folks as a primary example, as a representative of California. And I'm also learning a lot more as this comes along. So I'm also available for any questions regarding both the merger as well as the Fair Work Week policy that will be impacting our county. But thank you all so much for the support that you had given us back in 2019 regarding the Fair Work Week policy. Because of your hard work and volunteer dedication, 70,000 individuals are going to be having a different work experience, having more stable schedules, as well as feeling more confident in their ability to navigate their work-life balance as well. So I'll just pause here to see if there's any questions or comments, concerns.
Thank you very much. Two really massive and very central quality of life issues, particularly for San Pedro, but kind of everywhere. And thanks very much. Do we have any questions from the attendees or from the board? I do not see any raised hands, but I would like to say again, it is very fulfilling and satisfying to see, the kind of callback to something that we addressed a couple of years prior, that will make a significant difference in the lives of a lot of working people in the county. If anybody here's ever known the uncertainty of what your schedule is going to be from one week to the next, it kind of everything else has to revolve around that, and this will be a big step forward for a lot of people. So we really appreciate your efforts, and I think we're all pretty happy to have been at least a small part of this effort.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks. Have a good evening. All right, we're going to move on to our guests from Phillips 66. They have already been promoted to panelists and they're on screen. So folks, go ahead and you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen very quickly here. Oh, it actually says host disabled screen sharing.
Let me address that.
Should be able to do it now.
Oh.
Okay, I think I am there and I'm going to share this. Can everybody see that slide?
Yep, we can see it.
Great, thank you. So I wanted to touch on an event that recently occurred here at our facility in Wilmington. And well, let me just get started. Thank you again for letting us, join your meeting here and talk to you about kind of this recent event. On February 25th, the Phillips 66 refinery, at around 12:30 in the morning, our refiner was impacted by a power disruption from our local utility provider. So LA DWP, that was at LA DWP lines, and we're still investigating the incident, but what we do know is that there was a significant power disruption here again at the Wilmington facility. We know that LA DWP lines, wooden power poles failed, causing the power lines to fall to the ground. The disruption impacted our electricity supply and resulted in the shutdown of hundred of operating motors across the refinery, and also shut down our own internal electricity congen facility. Is that the correct acronym? Cogen. Cannot remember that. Thank you. So thankfully, our safety systems worked as they should. Our flares functioned effectively, and we were able to bring the refinery to a safe and stable state before starting with the full refinery restart. We have extensive restart procedures that we began to follow, and although it took nearly 2 days to reestablish our utilities, we're pleased to report the refinery is back to normal operations. The safety of the community and the environment and our people are utmost importance and to our company, and these are a part of our priorities that guide us in our day-to-day operations and projects. And this kind of leads me into that bottom lower right of the screen and the images there. One of the projects that we're looking at working on right now focuses on safety and kind of protecting the community where we work. So this is our MOTEMS project, and it's at the Port of LA in Wilmington. The project is a California required safety upgrade to our marine terminal, and basically it's occupying 2 wharf structures. They're currently 150 and 151 are no longer in service, and there are 2 newer structures, 148 and 149, that are currently being used. So we use these structures, and we're trying to upgrade 148 and 149, the fendering system, to that site to help us continue operations there. Part of the upgrade will basically decommission berths 150 and 151. Apologies. We're putting 150 and 151 back in service, making it a MOTEMS, again, state required, state compliant berth. The berths in our operations marine terminal are not used to, they're primarily focused on, I'm sorry, losing my train of thought here. Sure. The primary focus of the upgrade is to reduce any potential to spills, and it's upgrading the seismic and fire protection of the berths and marine terminal. It modernizes the facilities to basically help us, again, back to our focus, maintain, preserve the safety and the environment in the communities where we work. I have my colleagues here, our general manager and my colleague, who are available to answer any questions either relating to the event on February 25th or specifically to the project at the marine terminal. And I'll let them introduce themselves very quickly. I just realized I didn't even actually introduce myself. My name is Juliana Moreno. I'm the Public Affairs Advisor here at the refinery. And
my name is Joya Gath. I am an environmental specialist, and one of the programs that I hold is the fence line, or Rule 1180.
And as Juliana said, my name is Tim Seidel, and I'm the general manager for the facility here at Wilmington and in Carson and Marine Terminal.
Thanks very much. And before we take questions, and I see a couple hands already, I just wanted to ask for a little more background, something that's kind of brief and not go too much into the weeds technically, but when the power goes off, because obviously the flaring has gotten a lot of people's attention. When the power goes off, can you tell us what sorts of processes would be disrupted, and what, why is the flaring necessary, or how is it, since that's the part that's gotten people's attention literally, why is that a necessary part of your procedures?
Great, it's a great question. So we don't even need like a power outage. Just if there's a voltage dip, just like you would at your house, your lights flash, we we have several operating motors that are running. So if your dishwasher was running, or it has the ability to restart itself. With the size of the motors that we operate here, if we have a dip, the motors go down, and most of them don't have the capability to restart. So we have to go through and either restart those motors remotely from a control station, or someone might have to physically go out there in the field. And imagine we have hundreds, if not thousands, of motors operating within the refinery. So it's one of the reasons why we have such a robust system on the electricity side. And we have multiple feeds that come into, as well as our cogeneration facility. But when you have an event of this magnitude where the wires actually fall down and hit the ground, and you have a big insurge of a current, the system was not able to respond enough to protect the rest of the refinery electrical infrastructure, and that power surge went through the entire refinery.
Understood. So we're talking mainly about sort of pumping equipment, and this is all related to your refining process.
Right. So we have pumps. We would have that will have motors on them. We have coolers, fin fan coolers, almost like a radiator. They would have fans on them. Those are the primary two types of motors that we have in the system. And of course, we have a lot of electrical equipment that might require some sort of manual reset to get that going.
Understood. Thanks very much. All right, so we're going to go to questions. I see two from our board. I did not see which order you went up, but we're going to go with Gwen first and then Melanie.
Hi, thank you all. I hope that perhaps you might be able to forward your contact information to our executive board for future communication. But I was hoping that you guys, I understand that there is a lot of detailed analysis and reporting to do on this particular event before talking about the blow by blow. But I would appreciate if you explain some of the considerations. Well, first off, when did you finally have the refinery back up completely and back to full running? But also, if you could possibly go through some of the considerations of turning the refinery back on. Clearly, it's got to be a stage-by-stage process, but from the 25th, I believe that a lot of people in the community were actually paying a lot of attention to some of the events that occurred on Wednesday at about 10 p.m. If you could possibly talk about some of the noise, some of the flaring that occurred, and also talk about how we can communicate with Phillips 66, especially at 10 p.m. at night, and some of the things that we can do as a community to get the information and have good dialogue. But if you could definitely go through how long it took and the last day, but some of the processes that you go through, and some of the organizations that you deal with, like LADWP and South Coast AQMD. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Gwen, for your question. I'll touch on the first part of your question, which is our communication. So at any point, we have our 24-hour community awareness line. Again, at any point, the community can call that number if there are questions and or any issues that the community is experiencing and wants a little bit more clarification on. So again, this is a 24-hour line. We have the English number and the Spanish number up on the slide, and that really is there to it's for kind of the well-being of everybody. It helps us identify if there are any issues that maybe we're not necessarily aware about. Of course, the DWP lines being down, we were aware, but if there are anything like odor complaints or anything that the community is experiencing, I know some of the calls that I've had in the past are where maybe there's community members that have questions that are actually end up being referred to a utility company and not us. So it's good to call that number and for us give us an opportunity to be able to triage and identify what the issue may be, and further explore. But as far as the process, and I'll let Joy touch on the website that we have available also to the community, where you can sign up and get a little bit more information.
Yep. So the Phillips 66 reports real-time concentrations of about 19 different compounds on our fence line monitoring website, and this is compliant per South Coast AQMD's rule 1180. The link is in that first, on the left-hand side on that first grade box. It's P66 Los Angeles 1180.com. And on that website, you are able to subscribe to public notifications, which are made if necessary in an event. There also is a location where you can select the Wilmington refinery, and you can see the 19 different compounds that we do monitor on our 6 open path monitors and 4-point monitors. This will report in near real time. We have 1 hour averages mostly is what the website will report in. And also this was not disrupted or impacted by the DW or the event that happened on February 25th of 2023. So, and I'm gonna let my refinery manager touch base on how the steps of bringing the refinery back up to normal and steady state operations.
And I know
Dang,
Gwen,
I thought you were gonna handle.
Gwen, you're referencing specifically Wednesday following that February 25th. Did you want to touch on the process and operations?
Yeah, so I can definitely walk through the process. In my mind, I'm trying to go through the timeline on Wednesday and what happened, and nothing's really written for that specific time.
Wednesday, I forgive me, I misspoke. It was actually 8 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. There was considerable noise and you may want to speak with Melanie about some of the other experiences that the community had. I'm outside of certain areas, but there were other concerns as well regarding the noise. I live about 1.5 miles away, and it sounded like there was a lot of ruckus coming from the refinery. It sounded like jet engines, and it brought up a lot of discussion.
Okay. All right. So we can go dig into that specific time frame. I will tell you whenever we have an unplanned shutdown like that, sometimes we run into things that are more unexpected, and there's more of an opportunity to flare. We pride ourselves on having startup procedures as far as a normal startup after we shut down in a normal manner and do make planned maintenance, that we should have flareless startups in all those cases. When we have something like this is a big disruption and we kind of crash down, for lack of a better term. Now we have to get the refinery in certain systems, and there's more opportunity to potentially flare. We try to avoid it whenever we can, but they are safety systems to protect it. And I'll say some key milestones for us as we went through there. As Juliana mentioned, it took us about 2 days just to stabilize our utilities. And so yes, we had power back right away. But when we lose our own cogeneration facility that provides both a lot of electricity and steam, we have to start up some of our other boilers first that create steam. And those processes sometimes sequence where you have to get in balance with how much fuel gas we're making and how much steam we have. And that requires us to sometimes have to make excess steam, and we have to vent that. So sometimes you'll hear, when you say the term jet engine noise, that might be what you're hearing. And we try to do the best we can to distribute that steam venting across the refinery. We have mufflers in different locations, but then one other location that we can put steam in the event of those sequencing startups is we put steam up the flare themselves, and that they're designed to handle a lot of steam as well as to handle the gases. So that could have been a result of some of the noise that you were hearing on Wednesday, but we can go back and try to figure out where we were in the startup sequence. But the first 40 hours were probably the most impactful with regards to steam and or flaring. And then we had a couple other flaring events as we were sequencing up some of the units that came down a little rough and had to be started back up in a different manner. And then probably, I mean, I'm trying to remember Wednesday night that Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, there was some noise. I would say, you know, I could stand outside underneath the flare myself at 2 o'clock in the morning and we could have a conversation. But then on Friday, we knew we were going to get a situation where we were going to start up our cogeneration facility. And we knew we would be long a lot of steam, that i.e. we'd have a lot of excess steam. So I have to find a home for those. So we tried to plan that startup in the normal working hours. So it was around 5 p.m. where we tried to put the cogeneration facility on. And it did get pretty loud at that point, but we wanted to make sure it wasn't, you know, during the night when people were trying to get rest. But we knew in order to get that cogeneration facility back on, we were going to have to vent a lot of steam, and that was going to be noisy. Nothing to the impact of anything of a decibel level that would require hearing protection outside of the refinery or even inside the refinery outside of the process units, just within the process area. So steam was not, or the noise was not the extensive where it could be, you know, damaging to the hearing even inside the refinery. But still a disruption, and we understand that. We definitely didn't want to be there with that.
Thanks very much. I see Melanie, you have your hand up, and we'll go to John DeMeglio after that.
Hi. Yeah, Juliana and I have talked already offline, but one of the biggest concerns in the community, because I run the neighborhood watch over in this area that surrounds Taper and Home Depot, the Target and Home Depot area in that area. And so live on the neighborhood watch, there was a lot of reporting like on Wednesday, what is going on? Why is the house shaking? Because I literally in my dining room, we were sitting down for a late dinner and my house like shook. I thought it was an earthquake because my windows were going da-da-da-da-da and shaking and the house was shaking. It was like a jet was over the top of our house. It was so bad, and the vibration. And so I know the time because I immediately was contacting Ken to find out what was wrong. And, you know, and his phone was full on messages and not able to get a hold of. And so part of the problem is Saturday when that happened, there was major flaring reported. And at that time, there was a lot of HS2. It seemed like the smell of rotten eggs in the air. It was heavy. It was, and a lot of people were affected by it on Saturday and Sunday. And then there was a smell of fuel that a lot of people smelled over by the Home Depot area. So that was a grave concern that I brought up with Juliana too, about the fuel smell. And so all those things are concerns that we have. And as I explained to her when I talked to her, one of the things when something like this happens with the shutdown is it's really important that the neighborhood council be, you know, I was Ken's contact and I'm the point person generally for the neighborhood council for public safety. And he generally would let me know when anything was happening, if there was something that was shut down or what, so we could put out something on our website and send out on an email blast and on the neighborhood watches of what is going on and be more in front of it instead of catching up behind it like we are now.
I think that's a really good point. I think you and Juliana had some conversation about some ways that we can get information quicker. And we apologize for Ken's cell phone not working. He's currently not able to access it right now. And so we've got the primary numbers that we would want you to call anyway are these two 24/7 operation numbers anyway, just because we always know we've got a live body there to pick up that phone, and they've got direct access to people that are our supervisors on shift all the time. And so they can get information to them and questions to them. The person answering the phone won't know the answer to your questions, but they'll at least be able to express what it is. And often in the evenings when we get calls and concerns, we'll even be able to send someone out to do some air monitoring. You know, we can check the site that Joy had mentioned. You know, we can go in there and check that site to make sure that none of those monitors are even acting up. And just, you know, we can help manage that situation. With regards to H2S smell, that is concerning. I'll tell you that like Joya said, there was no disruption to our systems, and that would be on the, we looked at that, that would be on the south side of the refinery. Any of the monitors that we had in there did not pick up any H2S, and we have those are dialed down really, really low from a standpoint of where something would be concerned to public health. But H2S is a really interesting chemical. I mean, you can go do some research even on the CDC site, and the odor threshold for that can be extremely variable and extremely low for people. And the odor threshold is much lower than the point where someone actually would have their health impacted by it. But it's still, it's nothing that we don't want to impact anybody out the site, just outside of the site, even if it's just a nuisance odor, right? That's not what we want to do.
So how many days did it take for it to finally come back up? Because you
the
guys,
entire refinery from beginning to end.
because you were still trying to come back up on Wednesday, right? Because that's why.
Yes. In fact, the Wednesday that you're talking about, it was the 2 days later, the Friday was what we thought was going to be our biggest potential impact to the community, and that was when we started the cogen facility. We actually just got the last unit up and operating normally this morning.
This morning, wow.
So,
okay.
I mean, some of that is sequenced for reasons to maintain inventory, and there's not a, there's a very low risk of having any type of impact outside of the gate, and it's having a very low economic impact. And, you know, we're trying to give some of our folks some rest because they've been out here for a lot of days in a row. So that last startup of the unit today was not a big impact, but it was, yes, we just brought on our last processing unit this morning.
Thank you.
Sure.
But yeah, just to go back again, highlight that the real-time data is available on the website, featured on the slide. And then if there are specific questions, please call the phone numbers listed. I know we have 2 people raising their hand. Victor, you'll have to tell me how we are, or Christensen, how we're doing on the timing, but let me know.
We are right. Well, we'll take. I know John D'Ameglio has had his hand up for a while. So John, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to get it right down to the nitty gritty. How dangerous is this stuff coming out of the when you burn? And it seems like you burn on cloudy days, rainy days to hide the burns. And also, I know Wilmington collects a check every once in a while. Is that because the winds go down in the Wilmington area, or why is that? Why are they getting a check? How dangerous is this stuff?
So I'm not sure about the check. When you say, so when we put gases to the flare, we never intend to put gases to the flare. Our intention, that's a safety device, and it's only getting gases if something's not working correctly within the refinery. So it's relatively rare when we do flare, but it happens throughout the year. You know, we'll have some sort of malfunction that maybe once or twice a month that will flare, and it's never on an intention. It's usually almost always from a breakdown. Sometimes it's in a startup scenario where we know that the balance might get tight, but that's a very rare case. This startup being one of them. And I have no idea what you're talking about with regards to the check. But as far as are there harmful emissions coming from the flaring event? There are no acute harmful emissions. Just like any combustion of fuel, we always have to worry about some of the criteria pollutants that can be exposed, whether it's out of the back of your car or whether it's off the flare. Things like particulate in the air, right? That's something that can come from combustion. Things like ground level ozone, but that's why we have these fence line monitoring systems to pick up any levels of those potential contaminants. And I will tell you, those measure extremely low. So let's say, for example, OSHA, let's use probably one of the more common things that you hear about out there. Let's use the example of, well, H2S, we were just talking about it. OSHA says a worker's level before their health would be impacted could be 10,000 parts per billion or less. They could be exposed to that for 8 hours, and it would have, during a normal work day, and would have no adverse health effects. Our monitors for H2S alarm at 30 parts per billion. So 10,000, somebody may be exposed to that for an 8-hour working day. And our monitors at the fence line alarm at 30 parts per billion. So
Is that where your monitors are, on the fence line?
they are almost exclusively on the fence line. We have a few that are just off the fence line, but almost exclusively at the fence line.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And you can see in the upper right hand of that slide kind of the configuration of where they're at. So do you want to, Joy, do you want to describe what an open path is versus a fixed monitor? So we get.
Yes, so open path monitors are exactly kind of as they sound. They measure from point A to point B. And if you go on the website and choose the Wilmington site, for example, you will see the markup of where point A, well, path 1 will go from A to B, path 2 will go from C to D. And along those pathways, we have 4 point monitors. Point monitors are exclusively, as they sound, directly, they only measure at that particular point. We have 4 of them across in order to encompass the entirety of the Wilmington site. We have them scattered at different locations, so that way they are still on the fence line, but they are mixed in with the open path monitoring system. So briefly, the point monitors just measure hydrogen sulfide, also known as H2S, and they also monitor black carbon. And the other open path monitors monitor everything else from your BTEX components, which is the benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylenes. And then we have a couple others mixed in there, which are like hydrogen cyanide to VOCs, and all of which were at non-detect during the event that occurred.
Thank you very much for that. Oh.
Sorry, just to address the last part of that question was talking about flaring and during specific weather. The event on February 25th was caused because of we believe, was inclement weather that impacted the DWP lines. Now that's not something that we necessarily can anticipate or predict, but it just so happened that those DWP lines were impacted because of that inclement weather. It's very important for us to be able to better work with the community, is that when there are questions, as opposed to, trying to trace back what was happening on a specific, day of the week, or as during this startup, it's just easier for us to kind of hear have the community call the number on the screen again, for us to be able to get our team out there and get readings on this stuff. But that's where it's more beneficial, and that's where I think we can pinpoint things and address it as they're occurring, as opposed to waiting a few weeks.
Yeah, I just want one point of clarification. Luana mentioned that the LIDWP failure was due to inclement weather. We're not 100% sure of that. We are investigating that, and we'll continue to work with them to make sure we understand. Those systems should be able to design. Should be able to make it through a storm like we had.
Understood. Thanks very much. And so we'll go to Gwen for the last question. Go ahead, Gwen.
Hi, just as a follow-up, one quick question on the real-time concentrations of the compounds. Could we possibly be provided a history of the monitors from the 25th to whatever date, maybe today, as to the progression of what the meters were reading? Because it is real time, and I don't believe that there is anything other than an average that is done on each day. But if there is a recording of moment by moment readings from those 4 monitors, and also it would be very appreciative if, as the report is complete, if you would be able to provide that and possibly return and give another community report once everything is understood. That would be wonderful. And then we'll likely have more communications after this. Thank you.
Do you guys mind? if I-
Want to speak to the data? Yeah.
So on the P66 Los Angeles 1180.com, on the data section of the page, if you select Wilmington, you are able, if you go, it'll automatically populate till today, but you can, there is a calendar feature, so you could go back and select whatever day that you would like, and there is no exact average. If you'll be automatically put on the 1 hour averaging section of whatever compound that you decide to select from the drop down menu. And then from there, it'll give you 1 hour averages from throughout the day. So you won't see any blips of, let's say, from like 6 to 7 in the morning. You won't see any blips or anything of the sorts. It will allow you to scroll over and it'll give you the 1 hour average from that particular time frame. There is also a 5 minute like 5 minute average, if you will, if you select it from the 1 hour average or the 5 minute average, which is where the real time concentration of the target compounds comes from. So you can go from the 1 hour to the 5 minute, and then you can see it in more real time. And the 1 hours are what the notifications are based off of.
Okay, so you have a 5 minute reading. I appreciate
We
that.
do have a 5 minute reading. However, if everything is calculated. If it needs to go out to the public in the case of an event, it is all measured on the 1 hour average. Does that make sense? So all the 5 minute components are averaged up to make a 1 hour. So therefore, the 5 minute is just the real time. However, the 1 hour will actually make the 1 hour average will encompass an exceedance if there is one in the event.
Would we be able to be provided that if we made a special request of the 5 minute to 5 minute?
The 5 minute information is on the public website, so it's available there for you right now. So there's no need to make a request for that. But I will say that you can subscribe to our notifications on the main page on the home page. You can subscribe to public alerts and exceedances.
Thank you.
So it's an automated feature, but Gwen, thank you for the invitation again to provide another community report. We are definitely happy to do that. And especially as we go through this new safety project at our marine terminal, we definitely would appreciate time to come back and have another discussion and answer questions as they come in. Do you have anything else?
Well, that would be very appreciated, and I'd like to thank you for going into detail with this. And personally, I understand the process a lot better, but I think that we also see opportunities to develop a better communication in the future, because one of the things that we're tasked with doing is collecting and sort of encapsulating and transmitting this data to our stakeholders in a variety of ways. So having a better relationship with you is like really the foundation of us doing that part of it a lot better. And we would definitely like to hear more about the terminal project.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Any last, I know we're up with time, any last comments?
One last thing, I know that you mentioned, Gwen, that you were asking about a report. On our P66 Los Angeles 1180.com, there is actually, we are required per Rule 1180 to submit a quarterly report that does get posted onto the website under the resources tab. And then there you can see our reports from dating back to when Fenceline first started or Rule 1180 first came about. So you'll see reports, I want to say from 2021 at least. And it's every quarter from then on. Since we are still in the first quarter, we have not finalized our report yet. It is due 60 days after the quarter is finished. So, but it's automatically uploaded to the website, and then there you can find historical graphs and trends, but you can also find them on the data page as well.
Are those downloadable?
Yes, they are. They are PDF and very accessible.
Okay, so we should be able to see more information about this event in when is the next upload?
The end of the quarter is the end of this month, and it'll be 60 days after the end of the quarter, which will be March 31st. So it'll be 60 days post March 31st, which I can't do math off the top of my head right now.
May 30th.
Like May.
End of May.
So again, the report will capture what the fence line monitoring system read if it was over any thresholds. So it's not that you'll specifically see any specific trends relating to the event on February 25th. It's only if it was if it captured any readings. But we definitely encourage everybody to sign up to the real-time the automatic updates that you can get emailed to you, and or call our community awareness line for any questions.
Now, that's the main message. If you have something that's concerning to you, please pick up the phone and give us a call. And I know that was attempted on when the event was happening, and we had a number that wasn't being accessed on a daily basis, and we apologize for that. So I think we've got an opportunity to improve our communication.
Appreciate that. I would think we may do is do some social media or some other publication of the information, the contact information you've given us. Just it's something that people can sort of tuck away, screenshot or whatever, and store. So if they need to access that later, we'll have that available for them. Well, again, we appreciate. Yeah, well, it should help everybody get their mission accomplished. But thank you very much for your attention to detail and for your filling us in. And we will definitely like to circle back with you in the future for some other updates.
Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again.
All right, have a good evening. Okay, we are going to move on into our consent calendar. This is item 7 on our agenda. These items are not considered controversial, will be treated as one item in terms of a motion. No separate discussion will occur unless someone objects to them being bundled together, in which case we would deal with those separately. So if we could take a moment to review items 7A, B, and C, and everyone take a moment to see if there's anything they'd like to see separated, but that would include approving the minutes from our previous board stakeholder meeting, approving the appointment of Ben Norman to the Port Environment and Sustainability Committee and the Youth and Outreach Committee, which came out of the Executive Committee meeting, and to approve the resignation of Lori Jacobs from Budget and Finance Committee, which also came out of committee. So do we hear any suggestions or objections? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, would you take the vote on the consent calendar, please?
Okay, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
Aye.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia Gagne,
Aye.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Aye.
Kelly Miller,
Hi.
Ben Norman.
Can I vote?
You have to
Recuse? I recuse.
Yeah, I probably better to recuse on this one. Because you're one of the people. Thomas Norman.
Yeah, I have to recuse myself too.
Adam Stevenson.
Aye.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Aye.
Okay, that's 10 ayes and 2 recusals, so that carries.
All right, the calendar is carried. We will now move on to separate motions out of committee, of which we have a few. We're going to go to item 8A from Budget and Finance. So Melanie, please take the floor.
So the first thing we have here is the MER. And this is not out of committee because again, we didn't have it because we met on the 1st. So it needs a first and a second. So net available is 23,940.36. We basically
well, actually, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the MER, and then we would discuss.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, I'll second. Thomas Norman seconds for the record.
Moved by Dan Dixon, seconded by Thomas Norman.
Okay.
And go ahead to the nitty gritty.
Thanks, Chris. Got the cart before the horse. So anyway, so this is where we're at on our budget here. So any further discussion?
I guess I would just have a question. from year to year, and I know we've had several disrupted years, but what is our situation in terms of the amount that we're carrying over? Like, will we get to the end of the year with rollovers and things like that?
We'll see that on the budget,
Okay.
where we're at.
Speaking of carts before horses.
So any further discussion? A call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera is absent still, right? Okay. Victor?
Aye.
John DeMiglio?
Aye.
Dan Dixon?
Aye.
Cynthia?
Aye.
Adam?
Sorry, aye.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie? Aye. Kelly?
Aye.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Aye.
Okay, now the budget. So you see here, we've got all of this up here is operations, and we've got where we're going to be meeting in person. Now we have food for meetings, the Zoom license thing, minute taker, virtual office, and audio. Down here we have unallocated funds, 6,167.62 that is left right now. All of these two kind of play into this because they're what's left over. Then we have 8,000 that's going out in grants. And then we have the newsletter money, and then elections and printing materials. So right now we're carrying probably about 7,000 to 8,000 that we haven't spent. That's not asked for, you know, when you move it over. But knowing that we're going back into meetings full time, we're going to start having to use that audio money, and we're going to have to start using the food money and all that. So that's going to grind it down. So I can't count that in the bucket of access that we have otherwise. So rolling over, it's hard to predict at this time. It depends on if you guys decide to do an activity or a movie or anything like that coming up. Any
Understood.
other events?
Right. And so it's just, I mean, and so we do have this sort of, it's not really additional, but we're returning to these levels of overhead that we had in the past. And so despite that, does it seem like we'll have some headroom?
I think we will. We'll probably, I predict we'll at least like 5,000 will be rolled over again next year.
Okay. And then what's the ceiling for that
10.
every year? 10. Okay. So we're and that's really the only concern is like, I guess I personally wouldn't have a problem with spending all the money, but certainly just, you know, think
Right.
of ways to use it.
No more than 10 can be rolled over.
Understood.
My concern is that all of a sudden they decide, oh, well, you can be hybrid, and then they aren't gonna give any money. And then we are stuck with buying like a camera or something like that out of our funds in order to be able to offer that hybrid type position, you know, to do a hybrid, which I think would be beneficial, in my opinion, for the stakeholders.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It seems like, and it could very easily be a large one-time hit. Getting, you know, as close to future-proofed as we could is probably within the range of that amount of money, but it could easily use it all up.
And I have no idea how much a camera would cost.
Well, I mean, for the type of thing, again, for something that wouldn't necessarily need to be replaced within a couple of years, or something wouldn't become instantly obsolete, you could probably spend a reasonable amount of money, but it would also, well, a lot of research should be done before you
Exactly.
jump
So
on that one.
anyway, this is out of committee. So any further discussion? So I'll call for the vote. Thomas?
All right. Yes.
John? Or wait, no, Victor?
Aye.
John DeMiglio?
Yes.
Dan Dixon?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yeah.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Okay, so The next motion is at a committee. We have been told that we're gonna have to pay to meet at Peck Park. And they're gonna charge us $30 a meeting. So that being said, I'm not sure yet. I'm still waiting for an answer as to whether or not they're gonna charge us for setting up our tables too. So if they're gonna charge janitorial fees on us also, that's gonna be raise us up the money too. So what, after having a conversation with Ray back and forth, this money is to allocate $400 for Pet Park meeting fees. That is to allocate it. That way the money is put there until we find out exactly, and don't spend it until we find out exactly how much the money is going to be exactly, or if it's going to be zero, because that's being worked on in the process also. And we can always move the funds back if it's zero. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? Gwen?
So this is funds for the end of the fiscal year, which ends when? And when we will have a better idea next year as to what the grand totals will be for a 12-month period.
July is when it ends.
Thank you.
Vic?
Wasn't it $30 per hour after 8 o'clock, not just 30 hours,
right?
$30 per meeting?
Yeah, it's $30 per hour.
After 8 o'clock.
After 8 o'clock. And also for setup possibly, and tables, because they didn't rule on that. And cleanup.
So that would just be our typical 9 p.m. Adjournment then.
Right, but if we run late, then we're charged more.
Or for that matter, that just because the meeting's over at 9 doesn't mean we're out of the building with them ready to lock up. So
exactly.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, was there a charge before?
No, never. This is the first.
Okay, thank you.
I
Glenn,
see.
is your hand up again, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Then should we actually allocate a little bit more for a cushion for possible non-adjournment adjournment and leaving the building by 9?
The $400 cushions.
That does
We
cushion.
figured it out. Yeah, it cushions.
We also, Thomas says this, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it is disappointing we're getting charged now, given it's a city entity, but is that common for the other neighborhood councils? It's
No.
not?
No.
Okay.
So it's being addressed on an upper level right now, but it just, there's been no resolution yet.
Does it sound like it's one of those things where we might not have to do it if other people aren't made to, or does it seem more likely that everyone's going to have to pay?
What I've been told, and this is the explanation that I was given, is that Peck Park is not like other parks. It's not funded by the city. They run their park on their own funds that they do by their permits and pay their employees and pay everything internally from their own funding. And so they have to recap funds when the park closes and people have to be there. They have to pay their people and shouldn't have to come out of pocket for it.
Understood.
And that was
I
the
see.
explanation that I was given.
Well, that makes some sense. I see Cynthia's hand and Thomas again.
I was gonna say, at some of the neighborhood congresses that I've attended, I've talked to other neighborhood council members and they were paying up to $200 a month for their meetings. So I think 30 is pretty good, actually.
At a park? Was it at a park like us, or?
I don't even remember if they even told me where it was, but they were paying, and they were surprised we never paid.
Yeah, a lot of neighborhood councils do it. They don't use a city building or a city entity or a school. That's another option too. Thomas?
Just one, more quick comment on that. The amount is pretty low. in my role as Rotary president, I've looked at booking venues in San Pedro, and that's by far the lowest, right? So it's not a bad deal. But my thought is to research, or just to make sure that they don't get any money from the city. It seems, given the number of picnics or things I see where they're collecting fees, I don't understand how they pay out the salaries. So maybe we can reach out to our council members, staff, and I'd like to kind of know more budget wise how much city money they get. And given we've often thought that park is neglected, would like to see more city attention. Maybe in a future ask, we just incorporate and that we get to meet there as part of any additional funding they get, if any comes forward. But just to get a better sense of what the numbers look like, so I know how to feel. But I'm not opposed to what we're proposing tonight.
Yeah, like I said, there's stuff going on that Ray's working on, talking to higher ups, and that includes CD15, to see about, that they waive these fees, because that's something our councilman can do. And, and so that's basically where we're headed.
Right, I see,
Dan?
Good.
Thank you. This is hardly a burdensome amount of money, but I wanted to be clear that are we not being charged from 6 to 8 o'clock? It's just after 8?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there's some level of accommodation there. And I must say, in all the years we've met there, they have rarely, but sometimes gotten pretty testy if we pushed much past 9 o'clock.
Right.
So it seems, the whole thing seems reasonable to me. That's all.
Yes, and speaking of pushing past 9 o'clock, let's go ahead and make John's comment, the last one for this, if we could maybe call the question after that.
We've used Taper School Auditorium, we used the police station, and they weren't bad venues there. Have you looked into that more?
Yes.
Are they charging?
Taper Elementary isn't available regularly, and neither is the police station to have our meetings there on a regular basis on the second Monday of every month.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so are we ready to?
Yes, so I'm going to call the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
John DeMeglio?
Aye.
Jen Dixon?
Aye.
Cynthia?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Gwen?
Aye.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Okay, so the next item is the newsletter. So when we got the invoice for the newsletter for the printing, or not the printing, but the mailing, he raised his prices now too. So now we've got a difference of 98. Let's see, where is it? It's a difference of $93.90. So that makes the total for the newsletter so that Reed Printing now can get their invoice paid again, because we paid the guy the Perry Mailing to mail the stuff. That so now it's $5,093.30 is the total for the newsletter for elections. So the motion is to increase $93.90 the newsletter number 2 budget for elections. This would increase budget from $5,000 to $5,093.30 due to postage cost increase out of committee. Any discussion?
Just to reconcile the figures, it's the increase is $93.90, but the total amount would go up to
$93.90. Oh, that's an error on my part.
Okay.
It's a typo. I'm sorry. It's
No.
$93.90.
We just don't want to come up 60 cents short.
No, it's $5,093.90.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that shall be amended.
that shall be amended. Yes.
Can I see a hand from John DeMeglio?
John?
Yeah. I've been pushing flyers instead of this paper. So we get down to the nitty gritty and put out the flyers for candidates and everything else. and how it would be cheaper. I don't know. I haven't gone through the numbers, but will it be cheaper? Can we do it that way cheaper?
That's something maybe outreach can look at, because $5,100 per newsletter is going to start to get a little pricey.
Yeah, no, it's an ongoing conversation, not to go too much into the weeds about it, but there always has to be a value, a return on investment considered. We discuss in committee circulation and when we're doing electronic publications and social media, we get instant feedback on viewership and engagement. This is a lot of money to have a very small idea of who's reading it and what benefit they get. Now, there's always anecdotal evidence that people get the newsletter and they like it, and I don't disbelieve that, but it is always worth at least a look. It's not a system if you don't test it, so we will be looking at if there are other ways to reach the same number of people as well. And that's just an ongoing conversation.
Yep. So any more conversation, questions? So call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
John, or wait, Victor,
Aye.
John DeMaglio,
Yes.
Dan,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Adam,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Okay, on to the next stuff. Now these will be done. We have to do these separately because they have to be submitted separately on our agenda. So I'll scroll down here.
And I would ask everybody to look over if you have any, if you can anticipate any comments or discussion of these things, please try and put those together as succinctly as possible, because there's a bunch and we still have a bunch of agenda left after. So let's try and
Exactly.
cruise
So
through.
also to save any type of confusion or anything like that or questions, I made sure that the MPGs were all loaded on our website so you could review them, because I'm not going to scroll through them now because you should have had ample time. They've been up there a week for you to look at them and who submitted and what they submitted for and all that. I tried to give a breakdown in each one. Little explanation of a couple of them that were, after consulting with the city clerk's office, that were not allowed. One of the things that I included in there was the rules of neighborhood purpose grants in the packet, and also what a public benefit is. One of the big things with neighborhood purpose grants is they have to be a public benefit. So by public benefit, it means it has to benefit the community. It has to be something that the community can enjoy or the community benefits from. So they said like a security system for inside of Rainbow Services wasn't going to benefit the community. It benefited inside, but it's not a benefit to the community for them to have security cameras. And
Did they give any kind of specifics on how many people, or is it just?
No, it's all their different facilities is what they wanted it for.
No, but I mean, in terms of the standard, are they saying how many people does it have to help before it qualifies as a community benefit?
No, it has to help externally the community of Northwest.
Gotcha. So it's something broader.
Right, it's broader.
Okay.
So another one was CS Veterans Foundation. What it was is guard cards, but it's for the people that live down in the projects down in Rancho, and that's not in our area. So it doesn't benefit our area. And they didn't complete their application completely. And there was one more. Oh, Toberman. So this is another thing. Toberman is the grid program is fantastic and everything. But what they wanted was for gifts for their graduates. They wanted the MPG for gifts to their graduates and flowers and certificates. Unfortunately, again, it benefits an individual that can take something away rather than benefiting the community. And so that's another one that we couldn't consider based on a conversation with the city clerk's office. Dan, you have your hand up?
I hope this will answer a few questions. Of the list of beneficiaries here, at least 3 of them are not headquartered or even located in Northwest. So is it not just benefit to the community is the whole San Pedro community or just Northwest?
Well, in a lot of ways, all of these organizations, even though they aren't in Northwest, they do help all San Pedro community, Northwest, because people in Northwest, you know, are have domestic violence issues. People.
Okay, so there's no
right
necessity that it be based in Northwest.
Right, exactly.
To be a public benefit.
It just has to benefit people that live in Northwest.
Thank you.
Okay.
Answered.
Gwen?
So International Bird Rescue, a small grant for that. Essentially, it's education and outreach as well.
Each one, Gwen, will have a comment for it because we have to vote on each one individually.
Ah, okay. All right.
So, do you guys want to comment now or wait, Adam? Until is there one specific?
Yes, only because I was trying to understand when we spoke about external, right, or internal. And when I saw the one for Point Furman and the screen for the classrooms, does that not fall into the same category as?
No, because kids in LAUSD all go to all schools in San Pedro.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it seems, if I'm understanding correctly, it seems to be about access, like who has access to it. It doesn't have to be like if it's inside somewhere, but there's general access, and I guess that's what they're doing.
Makes sense. Just trying to get understanding. Thank you.
Me too. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to get on and vote on each of these real quick, and we can discuss them as we go on these. The first one on the agenda, I have to go in according to the agenda. Let's see. The first one listed as Feed to be Fed. This is materials for their education program that benefits all LAUSD students, and we awarded them $1,000. This is out of committee. So any discussion on this one? John, do you have a discussion on this one?
Not on that particular one, but I was just thinking can we give money to any of the disabled classes in LA Unified in our area?
If they submit for them, we can, but if they don't, then we can't. They have to submit when our grant applications are open. And Willenberg has in the past.
Or any of the regular schools that have a handicap program.
They would have to submit.
But they would qualify?
Their principal would have to submit for a particular program that they're trying to do.
Yeah, as a school, they would be eligible. We can't decide. They have to come to us.
Can you reach out to them?
Well, we do that with the materials, like basically like we for social media, for instance, we advertise that 503Cs and public LAUSD schools in San Pedro were available or eligible to apply, but they had to, and I also spoke to some people and let them know, for instance, at San Pedro High, that the money was available, but they basically have to take the initiative and come to us. We can't sort of offer it to them.
Okay, thank you.
So Feed and Be Fed. Thomas?
Aye.
Vic?
Aye.
John DeMaglio?
Yes.
Dan Dixon?
Aye.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Adam?
Aye.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is for the Assistance League. The Assistance League does the Operation School Bell, and they provide clothing and everything for all kids in San Pedro and South Bay area. The award is for $2,000 for them. Gwen?
I don't have anything other than to say that this has been an incredible program. But in regards to John's comment, for example, any of these 501c3s or organizations, if any of us have a vested interest in it or are a volunteer or have some connection to that, and we do reach out and we do provide information to that particular organization, we may want to recuse for our own ethical reasons. So I am a part of several organizations within San Pedro who might be going for a grant, and I would recuse myself from that vote. Thank you.
John, do you have another question, comment, or your hand's just still up?
Yeah, I know we have Kelly on the board, and I think she deals with handicapped kids. And I would think if that would trigger something for her.
Okay. So call for the vote on this. Thomas,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
John? Dr. Nick,
Yes, yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Gwen,
Aye.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Aye.
Okay, next
Oh,
is,
sorry. Let me jump in real quickly. I see Octaviano had his hand raised. I didn't see when it went up, but I'd like to hear if he's got anything to.
Octaviano.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Zach Taviano with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I just wanted to take less than a minute to give a reminder to board members on the conflict of interest issue. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
very timely.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm just going to read something off of here from the city attorney's office. Any board member who may have a conflict of interest and has not consulted with the office of the city attorney should move to have the specific matter tabled until the next meeting so that the board member has an opportunity to consult with the city attorney's office. If the board declines to table the matter, the board member may want to consider recusal prior to the matter being discussed. If choosing to recuse, the board member should state for the record all reasons for the recusal and that they will be leaving the meeting during the discussion and voting. And last but not least, because recusal may not always be sufficient, tabling of the matter at issue is always preferred to allow the board member to consult with the city attorney's office. Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members.
Thanks very much.
Okay, the next one is San Pedro Ballet. And this is funding, which I had to clear this with city clerks. We can pay for their ballet instructors. They asked to pay their director, but that cannot happen. And so we have to be very specific. The instructors for the school that help all the little girls in San Pedro, we can help pay for that, but we cannot pay for an executive director's salary. So we have to be specific on this grant that this is $1,000 for their instructors. So any discussion on this?
There are a few boys in the program.
Thank you, Dan. I was going
I was
to
going to
say.
say. Everybody likes to dance except me.
Cynthia? I can't hear you.
I had a question then. So on the other ones, we couldn't pay because it was individuals taking away a certificate, but now these are individuals taking away money. So it doesn't seem, I mean, I know you cleared it, but it just wasn't clear in
Because
my
they're
mind.
benefiting the whole community instructing them. It's open to everybody. The security, those are not open to everybody, just those individuals. Like if we were to buy uniforms, an example would be if we buy uniforms for like a school team, or those uniforms have to be used terrestrially by somebody else. They have to keep them with the school.
Okay.
And keep them for that individual child to take home and keep terrestrially. It has to be something that they can continue to
So that's
use.
something solid and the other is knowledge that we're paying for their knowledge to train the children.
Right.
Okay.
Kelly?
I was gonna ask, because there's two school ones, the Point Furman Marine Science STEM and the Port of LA High. I think I should probably recuse myself from those because of working for the district. So can we put those at the bottom so that I can leave for those two, but I can vote on the other ones?
I don't think you have to recuse because you don't work at those schools.
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you.
All right.
Seems reasonable.
So for San Pedro Ballet, Thomas,
Aye.
Vic,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Aye.
Okay, so next is Point Furman Science Center. This is for a thermatic screen for classrooms at a committee. $1,000. Call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yes.
Daniel,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Adam Stevenson,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Aye.
Next is San Pedro Skate Park, $1,000. This is to continue the mural beautification in phase 2. They're going to continue with the second half of the mural. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Adam,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tony, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Aye.
Next is for POLA. And POLA is for, and this is something that's kind of beneficial. They're using on Gaffey, North Gaffey, that ball field now for POLA. And that's used by other high schools now too. They're using it. So this will be for the dugout, backstop fencing, and for the dugout, the shades and all that will be left there to be used for all of the high schools that use it. So it'll benefit terrestrially there and not be just for POLA. But they're pretty dismantled, I guess, from what I understand, and wore out. So this will be a good benefit. John?
Yeah, where's the location on that?
On Gaffey, over by the gun range.
Oh, this is the Navy land or whatever,
Well,
or adjacent to that.
it's the ones right down North Gaffey Street past Home Depot.
Gotcha.
Those are the softball, girls softball, exactly.
Right, but they're going to be using those.
And they have been already.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. So any more discussion? Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Adam Stevenson,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris.
Aye.
Okay, the last one is International Bird Rescue. This is for pain management and medical supplies for birds, ongoing wildlife rescue and rehab program at the Wildlife Center in San Pedro. It really rehabilitates 1,500 local native birds a year. We're recommending $500 for them. At a committee, any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yeah.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
and Chris.
Aye.
Okay, and that is it for budget and finance. Yay.
Excellent. Well done. Do we have a representative from planning and land use who can take us through item
I,
7B?
I'm the fill-in tonight,
Thanks very much, Dan. Go ahead.
Chris. In Diana's absence, you'll forgive any haltingly poor presentation.
Well,
The first item, there are
Second,
two,
to stop the share so I can bring it up because she sent them to me in Word documents, so I have to reshare.
oh,
It's the gateway one, right?
yes.
Okay.
And I would ask Victor, were you able to process those images to be shown on the screen?
I have them here. I'm gonna see how I can.
Oh, you do?
that. Yeah, I've got them. Let's see.
I believe there are three, and frankly, showing all three of them is not that important. If we can get even one image up, that is probably sufficient.
Yeah, there are two that are so similar, it's almost hard to tell the difference.
Right.
Let's see if I can get it to do anything.
well, Dan, maybe you could start in the description while we.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. This is called a gateway arch, which implies that it's in St. Louis, but I say it's a freeway sign, which is more typical of Southern California here. This is a proposal to be built and paid for by the Business Improvement District in downtown San Pedro. And they're asking for, oh, pardon this photograph. It was taken by my phone of my wife's phone screen. So there's some image degradation there.
Yeah.
These signs, this one sign will be located on 6th Street, just up from Harbor Boulevard. And it's good on two sides. So you'll see it coming and going up and down 6th Street. It is, it was intended to be an arch, but there were utility issues on the south side of the street. So it has to stand this way like a monument sign. And as I say, this is coming out of the businesses of San Pedro are paying for this. And what you can't see on the screen, but what we're sending is a letter to the Bureau of Engineering supporting this project, because engineering will have to approve it and get it built, and it's their baby and the Business Improvement District's project. So I would ask you to vote aye on this letter of support from us to for the project in downtown. Any questions?
Yeah, you see John DeMeglio?
John, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't pertain to our area. I don't understand why we're voting on it.
John, this was out of the Joint Planning and Land Use Committee. We frequently do this. We've identified in the past that there are issues and structures and stuff in the community that relates to the whole community of San Pedro. This is one of those items. We're simply supporting centrals and this is not out of neighborhood council. This is from the Business Improvement District. We're supporting their proposal to build and pay for this sign, which is a benefit to the whole community. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Victor, would you call the roll? This is out of committee.
Okay. Well, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMeglio,
No.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia Gagne,
Aye.
Gwen Henry, she's gone.
Hmm.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes. Oh, she's back.
Oh,
Gwen?
Oh, for the vote, this is still the sign? Yes,
George, yes.
yes.
Okay, Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Ben Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, that's 11 ayes and 1 no, so that carries.
And
Thank you. Next item out of the Joint Planning and Land Use Committee is a letter to the Department of Transportation and to LAPD regarding traffic safety in San Pedro, both anecdotally and by professional study. I think we all realize that observance of traffic rules has slackened off recently or in recent years. And in San Pedro, there are 8 what are called street segments that are classified as part of the high injury network. I don't know who made up that name. This letter attributes to the pandemic this diminution of following the rules. Traffic laws are blatantly ignored and close calls happen multiple times daily. These don't just occur on major thoroughfares, but on side streets and residential streets as well. So all this letter is requesting is that more measures be undertaken, such as the ones included in the Gaffey Street safety improvements. These include left turn signals at busy intersections, ones that don't already have them, speed feedback signs, which is where you're driving down the street and it shows you how fast you're going, and well-designated crosswalk striping. I think that refers to repainting all the sidewalk crosswalks, and perhaps signage and flashing lights where that would be appropriate. Along with that, and this is the summary at the end, these measures, along with more frequent police traffic enforcement on our streets, will increase safety for pedestrians, bicycles, and automobiles, but general safety as well. And I think one of the things we've talked about in our committee and other committees in the last couple of years is that traffic enforcement for quite a while was fairly effective in identifying, in reducing violations at particular intersections or in particular blocks. That has been scaled back dramatically, that kind of additional enforcement. And we're asking them to consider realignment and reallocation of resources towards that throughout San Pedro. So this letter is out of committee and it goes to, as I said, DOT and the LAPD. Thank you.
I see hands from Gwen and Melanie.
Gwen?
This is part of the Vision Zero goals, I believe. Is that true? And I'm looking at the Vision Zero map, and has something changed since the pandemic regarding the mapping of the high injury network? Because the current map provided by LA DOT looks a little bit different. I'm wondering if you have a current map, and also, lastly, do you want to include additional traffic calming measures in your list of suggestions, or do you feel that that's just a sufficient representation? Because things like speed bumps, those ridges and things like that that slow down traffic
Well,
just by the noise.
That's It's an excellent point. I don't think in terms of major thoroughfares, you would not find that kind of traffic calming measure. You wouldn't find speed humps on Gaffey or Pacific. I can't say, I don't know if this is part of Vision Zero. I actually don't think it is. I think this is a response to a particular statistical increase of accidents in San Pedro in recent years. And I can't comment on whether it's directly related to the pandemic or not. Everybody seems to blame everything on the pandemic. But I think this is really a response to the increase in people who are driving for themselves and not being careful. And I think the real point of it is in the last paragraph here, hoping for that we can persuade LAPD to reallocate resources and do more frequent traffic enforcement as necessary and as needed. Thank you.
Well, can I ask a follow-up question?
Actually, I think we need to move on to Melanie and John as well.
I've given you what I know about this.
Yeah, we're sneaking up on
I'm
9.
sorry
We still have
Diana's
some,
not here.
Oh yeah, planning and landings. Never mind.
To me, it makes sense
Yeah,
to ask for more enforcement.
It's not part of the Vision Zero.
Thank you.
But one thing I wanted to let you know is at not CPAB, the last CPAB, but the one before, because there were 2 that were like 2 weeks apart. But the one that I have my report on, I was there and Craig was there. And I brought up and Craig like backstopped me on it and mentioned about the traffic and stuff. And what they told us at CPAB is they have 1 motorcycle traffic cop for all of the harbor area. And what they have is what they have. It's Andy Rowe. And they do not have any cops to do enforcement. They try and do what they can, but they've cut way back. And they do little traffic stints every once in a while when they have available LAPD people to do it on patrol. And they can stage somebody at certain places, but they're focusing more so on real-time happening crimes and stuff. And traffic, we're going to have to be patient with.
I think that's a fair assessment. This is simply a reminder to them that we are watching and we're observing, and we are requesting that they remain aware of the situation in the streets.
Yep, I agree.
Hey, can we go to John?
John.
Yes, I think this is a little vague. We need to pinpoint where the problems are in the traffic. There's traffic on Pacific because they went to 1 lane because of the bypass. And the problem is that people are using the side streets to get around it, and it's causing accidents. They're going down to Harbor Boulevard, which is a smoother ride throughout to get out of town or in town or whatever. But that's the problem. They're avoiding
Agreed.
Pacific because Pacific is jam-packed now because there's only 1 lane. So I think it needs to be specific to where the problem is and not in general.
I understand what you're saying. I wish I could comment further. This to me is an interim, just like a folded down corner of a page to remind us that this is an ongoing issue. You're absolutely right. It's due to a number of changes, a number of happenings that we have very little control over. What we're just trying to do here, the committee would like LAPD to keep in mind that this problem exists. And certainly, as we've found with park rangers, you got to have more than 1 park ranger or motorcycle officer working in the 15th district or in the harbor area to allow for any kind of comprehensive coverage or of crime, of violations such as the ones we're talking about. This is I would call it an interim letter as a reminder to them, and I believe we will continue to watch it, and certainly I would recommend coming back with a more specific recommendation, John. Yes.
All right, I see we're coming up on 1 minute until 9 o'clock. I see 3 hands, 2 of which have already spoken. I would like to recognize and give everybody a chance to speak, but please be considerate that we have additional parts of the agenda to cover. So go ahead, Dan, go ahead and call the next question, but we'd like to try and snap it along.
I'm sorry. Cynthia?
Hi, yeah, Dan, yeah, I agree with John that it should be more specific, but maybe also you might want to mention to Diana that they should do studies on some of the areas that the police know where the traffic accidents are, and they, hear and see things. So maybe if they did a study and they put that out, we could be more specific ourselves.
I understand.
That was just a suggestion.
They've indicated that San Pedro has 8 street segments classified as a real issue in this high injury network. I wish I could tell you more about that, but I believe that means they have studied.
Oh, good. Okay.
They have looked at particular intersections or stretches of street. Again, this is a placeholder as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one more question.
All right, John. Yes, please.
Wait, I had my hand up already.
Sorry, Gwen. His hand was up. Go ahead, John.
It was to elaborate.
Okay. Gwen, you answered so many questions. Can you allow me
Guys,
to do that?
order.
We don't have time for
Order.
this, John. Please
You
proceed.
address Dan.
Okay. I haven't had the opportunity to do that many respond to it much. Okay. This is an ongoing thing. Not having enough police in San Pedro. When I was in my drinking age, underage drinking, when you hit San Pedro, you were home free. The trouble was coming from Long Beach, Torrance, PV, and Lomita there, because they had police. Once you hit San Pedro, you're home free. And that's always been a problem with the LAPD. And they need to upgrade they need to put more police in San Pedro because it's getting overcrowded anyways.
Absolutely.
That's my suggestion.
Absolutely no argument from anybody here, I suspect, certainly not from me. And this letter is not intended to address that huge problem that you've just identified, but it's something that we all need to be looking at as stakeholders in this community and in the city of Los Angeles. I appreciate your comments very much. And I would, Gwen, unless you have something really germane, can we proceed to the vote, please?
Please proceed.
Thank you. Vic?
Hey, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
I'm going to vote no on it because it's not clear to me.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia Gagne,
Aye.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Aye.
Kelly Miller,
Hi.
Ben Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Adam Stevenson,
Aye.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
It's 11 ayes, 1 nay. That carries.
All right, and we are moving on then to 8C1, community issues. Is that also you, Dan? You're muted. You're muted still.
You're muted, John, Dan.
Dan.
Oh, you missed my best line of the night. I believe this is in the order that it's on the agenda. The first item is, I will say, a motion to support Councilman McOsker's request that the Port of Los Angeles and Recreation and Parks and the Bureau of Engineering and any other relevant city departments report on the feasibility of replacing the Knoll Hill Dog Park within a reasonable proximity of its current location. Whatever dog park is, wherever it is right now, is being removed, if it hasn't already been closed, because of the realignment of the freeway and the new off-ramp and that sort of thing. And Councilman McOsker has made a motion for the relevant city departments to study relocating the park. And I appreciate his early involvement in this. It's been beneficial, I think, to sense his attitude about getting things done in the community. So this is simply a motion to support the councilman's motion to find a place to relocate the dog park. Questions? Seeing none, I would ask that the vote be taken.
Okay, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
You're muted, John. You were open and then you muted.
No.
Dan Dixon.
Aye.
Cynthia Gagne.
Aye.
Gwen Henry.
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq.
You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Kelly Miller.
Aye.
Ben Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Aye.
Adam Stevenson.
Aye.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Aye.
Okay, 11 ayes, 1 nay. That carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item it has the dramatic headline, motion recommending that Board of Harbor Commissioners decline to rename a portion of Harbor Boulevard as Buscaino Way. That's a very specific thing, but it's a more general issue, we believe. This motion effectively supports a position already that has already, pardon me, my dog's here around here, hanging around. A position already taken by Coastal San Pedro, objecting to a city councilman's request to the harbor department to just out of hand rename a portion of Harbor Boulevard after a former city council member. The specific objection here, there are two really, but the main one is that this has been done as a lovely parting gift for one council member by another sitting council member. And it's not even a vote being taken in city council yet. They're passing it off to the harbor department and saying, you guys find a way to rename a part of a street after a former city official. It just sets off all sorts of alarm bells in terms of notification and community input and the wishes of stakeholders. And I think it's accurate to call this a self-indulgence by the city council and harbor commission in conflict with those bodies' responsibility to respond to stakeholder needs. And it goes on and on, but the bottom line is we think the city needs to follow a policy when for all time renaming a public entity for one person. And we end, be it resolved at the end states that our neighborhood council recommends city council and Port of LA both adopt a policy of not naming public streets and buildings for individuals until they have been out of office for more than 10 years or are deceased. Of course, we don't wish that on anyone, but the idea of waiting until someone has been out of office for a certain amount of time would give us all time to contemplate the benefit of naming a public entity for an individual. Comments, questions? So the effect of this is to ask that the Harbor Commission not make this decision at this time.
Yeah. I would like to speak in support of this letter and say I work all over the county and I see the names Antonovich and Yaroslavsky amongst others far too often, people who are still alive and who have not been that far out of office. And I think it's a bad habit in terms of public policy, and the fact that this is being done in a way that it didn't even follow the normal routes for this type of approval is a
Correct.
particularly irritating. It's unnecessary, and my own particular goodwill towards a former council member notwithstanding, there shouldn't be this type of exception made. It sets a really bad precedent.
Thank you, Chris. And I would point out that there are public buildings and probably other public items named after living people who are currently under indictment for crimes committed in office,
You
allegedly.
want to have a little, yeah, you should have a little time to let the legacy be established before we decide to celebrate it.
And they can decide later whether to make it 10 years or 2 years or some other time, but it should not be the minute they step out the door or while
Right.
they are in office. Thank you, Chris.
We also have Melanie and John.
Melanie, yes.
I bingo on what Chris said. I duplicate exactly what he said. I was thinking the same thing. But also a point of clarification. Do you want this filed as a CIS? Because you have file CIS on council file 221537.
Melanie, I wish I could answer that. If I were Diana, I would have a quick answer. I think it's in support.
Right, so
It happens to be in support of a CIS from another council, but there's
right.
no reason it can't be a community impact statement, I don't think.
Right. It can be filed like that and also the letter sent out too. It
Oh,
can-
wonderful. That's
So I'm
that's
just
the one,
making
Melanie.
sure so I can file it. If that's the
Thank you.
direction.
Both of those things.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Only if
John
it came out of
DeMiglio.
committee is that, only if it came out of,
committee.
no, as a letter and a CIS. Only if it came out that way. I've run across that myself. I didn't say the letter, so nope.
Has it on there though? It says file CIS on council file 22.
Yeah, but no letter, does it?
Very well. John DeMiglio.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement with everybody, Chris, Dan, and Melanie. And I wish they would set a precedent that these streets should be named after somebody that has already passed away or something, in honor of them in some way, that they actually did something great for the community. And I don't see it with Luscaino. Thank you.
Absolutely agreed, John. Thank you.
All right, well, it seems we've concluded discussion. Shall we call the question?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
Aye.
Dan Dixon,
Aye.
Cynthia Gagne,
Aye.
Gwen Henry,
Aye.
Lenny LeBrecq,
Aye.
Kelly Miller,
Aye.
Ben Norman,
Aye.
Thomas Norman,
Aye.
Adam Stevenson,
Aye.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Aye.
It is unanimous with 12.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dan. We are moving on to item 9. Mel, is there any update from EBG?
Chris,
I'm sorry.
there's one more. There's one more
Oh, I'm
item, but I'm
Oh, I'm
happy
sorry.
to.
I
I'm
saw
happy
8.
to wait. It's not instantly needed, and we're running out of time, so I'll be happy to bring it to the next meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm sorry, I did skip over, and that's 8C3. We're going to roll over without objection to next month's meeting. Hearing none.
Thank you.
Okay. Nope. Time check is 9:12, 13 actually. So we shall now move on to I've lost my place. 8D is executive committee report or motions, and this was Ray. The item was the discussion and possible action to support the appointment of a board representative to the Peck Park Advisory Board. I have not had any information as to.
I move we put this to the next
Yeah,
meeting.
we're going to table this for next month without objection. So moved. All right.
Second.
Okay. Item 9, the EVG update.
There's no update at all.
Okay.
It's treading water right now.
Understood. And then similarly, item 10 would be the president's report, aka or vis-a-vis meeting with the port. Ray would have that information. We'll just reserve that for him for next month. Are there any, before we go into item 11 committee reports, I could say, for instance, that youth and outreach was dark because we seeded our time for the candidate forum. So does anybody else have a committee who did not, doesn't have a report to present? We can get that out of the way.
Just CPAB is up there, read it. There's a budget advocate report that's up there, read it. It's all loaded. These reports, you know, we should read them and just look at them. We don't have to take up the meeting, the last half of the meeting for them if they've been uploaded over a week.
I think that's reasonable. So going down the list, considering that people are apps, do we have a bylaws and elections? Nothing. Budget we've covered, obviously. And public safety. Oh, you just mentioned CPAB, I'm sorry. Likewise for executive with Ray, youth and outreach is covered, planning and land use, anything that wasn't already moved on?
No, and community issues, we're done. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. It's port, environment and sustainability, Thomas?
Short report. You can read the minutes. We had Mike Galvin talk to us about connectivity plans and the PAP process, and wanted to get more money so we can continue to support great things in our area. And then we're excited to welcome our newest member to the port committee. So thank you for voting in favor of that member on today's consent calendar. Nothing else.
Thanks very much, Thomas. And Vic, I suspect I know what the answer is, but has anything happened at Science Center?
Nothing for this meeting.
Understood. And anything from Hank Mill? No, thanks very much. Now, actually, we did pretty well considering I think we got a lot of important work done and we heard a lot of good information this evening. So we're 15 minutes over, but that if we could do as much as we did tonight and only cost an additional 15, that wouldn't be so bad. Anybody else have anything to add before we clock out? Well, thank you all very much. I think it was a very well handled and valuable, productive meeting. And if I don't see you sooner, I'll see you later.
Thank you to everyone on the board.
Don't forget about town hall meeting, March 23rd.
Yeah, we need to
5
turn up.
PM Peck Park.
Yeah, I think I'll be there, and I think we all should try and swing by.
9 PM or AM?
PM.
5 PM.
1700 hours.
Thanks, Dan.
Will be
23rd
canceled
March.
on the
Hi, everybody.
23rd, everybody.
Good
It
night.
won't be on the 23rd because of the town hall. It'll be moved to the 30th.
What? Oh,
Public
say that again.
Public safety will be moved to the 30th instead of the 23rd because of the town hall.
Thank you. I saw that. I was actually putting the town hall in my calendar and I saw that. Okay.
It was felt best that it not be the same night as the town hall and have respect for the town hall and move public safety to the 30th. So
Good
that's what's
idea.
being done. All right.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop recording now.